Welcome, welcome, YouTube. Welcome back to the fifth edition of the Home Theater Hub. Got myself, Don from Horizon Home Theater here, and then my partner in crime, Mr. Ike
What's
from
up?
Easy HT Tech. How you doing today, Ike?
Good. Busy but good. Recovering from a slight cold, but I'm good.
Okay. Well, I hope you feel better over there. You're gonna
Yep.
you're gonna pummel through this one to make it through this banger that we got today.
I know. It's about to be an exciting show. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we got a banger for you guys today. We actually have three guests.
Yep.
One of them you guys know, Mr. Paul,
Yep.
has joined us again, which we graciously thank him for joining us. We got Mr. Fred, and we got resurrected from the dead, Mr. Jonathan.
Hey guys, thanks.
Mr. Jonathan, look, we've all met each other a little bit backstage, but all of us come from meeting each other on the after show, the Daily Hi-Fi. So definitely want to give my props to them. Let them know that we appreciate all these friendships that were made through their channel, and thank you guys so much for that. So if you guys do not subscribe to the Daily Hi-Fi, make sure you go out there and subscribe to their channel and become a Patreon to join in the after show. So, guys, we got an exciting show today. First time that we've had two different guests. Hopefully, we get three different looks at at three different areas, right? Mr. Paul, are you able to share your updated progress, or do you want to
Um,
hold off on that?
yeah, I was gonna hold off, and
Yeah.
I don't want to. There's already two amazing people on here. No sense in me muddying the waters.
Okay, that's not a
These
problem.
people are
Well,
like crystal, and I'm like over here, playing in the pond.
yeah,
You're here.
so those of
You're
you
here so
that
you don't get
haven't
fined.
watched the first show, Paul has been putting together a barcade, and I think he's just about done with that. So maybe we'll share that on another show, but or maybe if we have a little bit of time later in the evening, we may be able to scooch over to that. But hey, thank you everyone for joining. C Big, thank you for joining. Appreciate it, Mr. Fred. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Tomorrow's my last day of work, and then I'm going to be on vacation until the third of next year. So I cannot complain. Life is good.
That is a heck of a vacation. I'm very jealous, even though I just came off of an 11-day vacation.
Yeah,
But
I
um,
thought we were friends, Fred. There you are bragging about it. Now I'm questioning. I'm questioning our whole relationship.
yeah,
If
it's
I was,
that's exciting news. Do you have any plans on the vacation? You're
You,
traveling? You staying local?
I actually thought about going, back to Long Island for uh, vacation. A little visit the family, visit friends. But I'm still undecided. I didn't get tickets yet. I was just talking to my manager about that today. I didn't get tickets yet, so we were just kind of saying, yeah, I guess if I pick the right days, I could still do it, but I'm just not sure. So at this point,
Hey,
it's a staycation at this point so far.
it's just like this show. We just go with the wind, right? You just wherever it goes, wherever it takes us, right?
Absolutely. Whatever feels best.
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
I think Fred and being undecided are kind of like a common theme, and we'll kind of go into that as the show progresses. But yeah,
Mr. Jonathan, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing well, man. Good seeing everyone again. It's
Good.
been a hot minute.
Yes, it has. And those of you that aren't familiar with Jonathan, Jonathan, myself, and John Anthony, we did a unboxing of the very first Zapiti reference
All
on
right.
live on the Home Theater channel on my Horizon Home Theater channel quite some time ago. It was the first one in the wild, actually. I think John Anthony got the first one in the U.S. I'm a Zapiti dealer, and we were able to get that out to him and get that thing unboxed live online. And Jonathan was so gracious to join us since he was actually as a PD owner also. And you did wind up getting one of the newer units too, right, Jonathan?
Yep. Yeah, and I've
Yeah,
now upgraded the software on it to the new Revolution software.
to the Arvolution. Yeah, yeah. That's
Revolution.
I I I helped Chuck the other day do that, and it look at that. Speaking of that segue, Mr. Ike has got the new Arvolution in house for review.
Yep.
Thank you to Arvolution for sending that over to Easy HT Tech. We'll have to get Raphael on the channel to help out to see if he'll come on the channel and talk about the Arvolution once
Yeah.
we're ready for that. But yeah, I'm excited to do the upgrade on the Zapiti. I know Chuck was saying there was just a little bit of difficulty getting the TV shows migrated over, but I'm not sure. I haven't dove into it yet because I haven't done it. But yeah, I was able to stream with him through the WhatsApp and get an idea of what was going on with that. So I still have to upgrade mine too. So, Mr. Fred, what are you running for a media player over there?
I'm running a Zedo. As a, the funny thing is, when I first came to the Daily Hi-Fi after show, I was just having, listening to a lot of the conversation. I was kind of the new kid on the block, even though I'm the oldest kid on the block. I was the new kid on the block, and it was funny because I heard everyone saying things like Zapiti and Zedu and Kaleidoscape, and I had no idea what you guys were talking about. And eventually, I just said, you know what, I'm going to have to just bite the bullet and look like the crazy kid and ask what that is. And you guys started to explain to me like what the Zapiti was, and I ended up though buying a Zedu. I brought the Zedu UHD 3000. I believe it's the model number is on that one. And I got that particular unit because it had the two hard drive bays in the front, so I could do dual hard drives, and then also it had the XLR outputs so that you could do like your analog stuff, music stuff. So I wanted that, and I thought that that was going to be the end. That was everything. I was very happy. But that's what I'm using for all my video media at the moment.
Okay, so you got the Zidu, and what made you go to the Zidu path versus the Zapiti versus the Kaleidoscape, or even just a regular Blu-ray HD, HD Blu-ray player?
It's a good question. I did have a Blu-ray player. I have a Blu-ray player. I don't know the model number. When we take a look at the equipment, I guess then I'll look at the model number on the front. Because I never pay attention to the model numbers. Once I get something that I like, then I kind of forget the model numbers and I kind of just enjoy the equipment itself. So I do have a Blu-ray player, and I was using that, and I had no idea that there was even a such thing as a media player. That was the thing. I thought everyone was using a physical disc, and then when I heard you guys talking about this, it was kind of like I was like, wow, where have I been? Like under a rock? And so and so I ended up going with the Zedu because like it was really it was cost. Like I was new to it, so I didn't want to go too crazy, but they did have a unit that was like somewhere around like $400, I think, or maybe a little less. And then I just kind of thought about it, and I love my music, right? My music is like an important thing to me. So I wanted the analog outs, right? I wanted the DAC outputs from the Zedu. So I ended up getting the one that was, somewhere in the $1,000 range. That seemed to be like where it wouldn't hurt too much. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a $5,000 purchase. So that's kind of what made me end up going in that direction.
Hey, you got to go with what you like and what's going to serve the best purpose, right? So I like the fact that you mentioned about the two channel. Is that where you got your start in all this, in all the rabbit hole that we're about to talk about?
Yes. Since I was a child, a small child, maybe not so small, maybe about 13, um, I got my first hi-fi system. That I'm old school when you start talking hi-fi. So my first high fidelity system, I got when I was about 13 years old. it was a Fisher Model T95. I'll never forget this. You know, wooden cabinet, some decent speakers, and you know, I remember hooking everything up. It wasn't much. It was right a receiver and speakers, but I hooked it up, and I remember like just kind of scanning through the radio stations to find, you know, something to listen to. And I remember coming across a jazz station. I think it was WRVR. That goes way back. They're defunct now. And also a classical station, and I forget the call numbers on that, but it was somewhere around 105 on the dial. And I remember hearing, you know, like instruments playing through, you know, this system, and it just changed my life forever. At that point, I was in love with music. It's become a passion for me, you know.
Jonathan, I think that's how you got your start, also, right? You're a two-channel guy too.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, I've been like, well, very similar to what you were just saying. Like, I started off with, you know, music when I was a kid. I mean, I started roadieing for awful metal bands in Boston when I was 14, and you know, saving up and getting a receiver and, you know, a 5-disc carousel and all that kind of, and some speakers that were decent in a sub. But in its latest iteration, it like I think with a lot of people, kind of over COVID times, you know, at the height of the pandemic, I was working. I'm in the supermarket industry, so we weren't closed, and I was working crazy hours. And my wife was kind of saying, you know, you deserve to buy something nice for yourself. You know, you've been really killing yourself lately for work. And I was like, well, you know, I've always wanted a Macintosh amp, and so I ended up going to a hi-fi store that was open and looking at. They had just come out. I forget the model number. They'd just come out with a newer kind of small with 2 external tubes, and that's what I was leaning towards. And then, of course, the guy started showing me other things and what they had just come out with, the other new models. And so, of course, I went with like their flagship integrated amp, the TM-12,000. And so like the people who don't know me, like you'll like pretty much anything. If you're familiar with Paul, anything he sits there and makes fun of, I'm usually the guy who's already bought it and it just takes the lumps because Paul is making fun of it. So,
Hey, you know what? And I don't have any problems with that. Yeah.
no, you know, I don't have a problem with you talking trash because then you help me with the stuff I can't figure out anyway. You're like my on-call engineer. So,
Yeah, you're like, well, now how to put this together? Shit.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. So what ended up happening was I got that amp, and I found some demo Focal Sopra speakers, and I got a very nice turntable, and well, nice. I mean, the world of turntables, it's nothing crazy. It's crazy for me, but and then I had set up like a 2-channel listening room out in this barn kind of thing we have at our house here, and because I figured I'd be able to get the volume up without annoying the wife too much. And so I had it all set up, and it was nice, and I was just like, you know what, like, as much as I love 2-channel, and that's what this is really for, I have a great sound setup here. It's a waste not to have a TV above it that I can watch some things on or whatever. So I went and I bought a 77-inch OLED to hang above it, and brought my wife out to the barn to listen to it. And I was like, you know, what do you think? And or I'm sorry, actually at that point I think I had bought a Denon to run as a processor. Out in the fronts were just through that. And she's like, you need a bigger TV. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, the sound is so good. She's like, the TV. And Paul, you remember this? She was like, she's like, yeah. I was like, well, bigger means, and at that, now there are bigger options really. But at the time, unless you were going to spend $20,000 on a television, there weren't bigger options. You had to go to a projector.
Yeah.
And so that's where the rabbit hole really started. And then getting involved and honestly, I don't think I've ever talked about this before, but I can blame Don for a lot of my issues because I had
No.
he doesn't even know the story I'm about to tell. I had just started following the Daily Hi-Fi and wasn't, you know, a Patreon with that yet or anything, and it maybe bought a couple things from Chana. And then they had Don on as a guest one week when I was watching it. And so I went and I checked out his channel, but they were asking him about certain items that they were kind of making fun of for being a little more high end than the stuff they normally work with. and one of them was like, I think, Kaleidoscape. And so Don, I was like, this is a guy I need to talk to because I've always been interested in Kaleidoscape. And so, yeah, so I went down the rabbit hole, and now it's, it's, the theater kind of got away from me a little bit.
I tried to make you pump the brakes on several items, so I'm not taking any blame. But I did nudge a little bit.
There's always scope creep, as we call it. You're like, I'm just gonna do this, and next thing you know, there's like 5 other things that you're doing.
Well, yeah.
You're like, oh man.
So that's exactly what happened. I through Chana, I bought like whatever Denon had just come out, like at that point. I want to say it was maybe the 3700 or something like that. And I was going to use that. And my fronts, I was still going to use the MA 12,000 as the pass through, and use the Denon to power surrounds and some other. And then it's like within a week and a half, I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to cut it. And I bought like a Trinnov, and then 2 more used Mac amps to run the other speakers, all of which are now Focal, except for the 2 JL Audio subs, and a Kaleidoscape, and I don't even know. Don probably knows better. Oh, and I got the NZ8, and but then Don finds me things too. He saves me money. Well, I sound like my wife now. It was on sale. I saved so much money. Like, yeah, it was still a lot of money. Like he knew what size screen I was looking for, and he found this like self-masking 120-inch screen that had been used at like a trade show by the manufacturer. So it was like a third of the retail price. And so that's pretty much my setup now, with some side things on it. But that's the bread and butter.
See,
I have a thing for the masking
careful.
screens. If you haven't noticed, Chuck bought a masking. I took him to M-Wave. Well, I didn't take him, but we actually met at M-Wave, and because he was interested in a screen, and then all of a sudden there's this masking screen available, and he was asking me what screen I should get, and obviously I'm a Seymour dealer, and I said, well, you may want to look at this one, and then they were talking about selling a masking screen for from the demo, and I was like, Chuck, I can't even sell you that this thing at this price, so you might as well buy this, and that's the type of dealer I am. If somebody can give you a better deal than I am, hey man, by all means, pinch those pennies and get whatever you can get the best deal that you can get. I don't do this for a living, so I just do it for fun, you know what I mean? So if I can help somebody out in any way, by all means I will, but for someone to be able to save some money and spend it on something else, that I've done the same process in building my theater, so I totally understand.
Yep,
Now,
totally.
Mr. Fred,
Yes, sir.
speaking of going down the rabbit hole,
You are way beyond
I'm not.
rabbit
I'm.
hole.
I'm not really. See, I'm not really that far down. But go ahead, Don.
no, you are not. You have held some restraint, but you have been pushed too.
See,
Like
I
Jonathan
think is
said that
what Fred hasn't bought. See, that's the thing. Everyone in any hobby, even home theater, if you buy like a Ford Escort, you can upgrade it, but you're gonna, upgrade it appropriately. But if you buy like a Lamborghini, you're not gonna put, Walmart tires on that car. You're going to be going with the high end accessories as well. And I think that's where Jonathan made the mistake. He's like, I'll just
disagree
get
with
this
you.
one really cool thing. And then it was like, oh, well, now I gotta get this, and
Okay, so
that has to match, and then that has to match.
Part of that is true, but I will remind, because I think both you and Don know this, when I finally had the theater set up, not that it's ever done, right? I mean, you're always tweaking it and doing things to it, but it's actually set up and you can use it. And I had the Kaleidoscape running, and I had however many Focal speakers going through, the processor. Don's like, so what movie did you watch? And Paul, I think you asked the same thing, like wondering which of the Marvel movies or, any of these things. And I'm like, man, I've watched the same movie like 3 times in the last day and a half. And they're like, which one? And I was like, Yeah, it's Moon over Parador, like this 1980s like standard definition. It's in a square
Stereo, like
box. It's on a square box on my screen.
LPCM
Yeah, yeah,
audio is the highest grade on the
yeah.
disc. Like,
And I was like, wait, they sell that on Kaleidoscape? I'm like, yes, they do. I might have been the only person that bought it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, wow. I was like, damn. I was like, okay.
He might have nice
Yeah.
gear, but he's a little bit of a hillbilly.
Hey, I spent $100,000 to watch a VHS tape.
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing I do. It's like in mine, I watch more of like the British TV shows, like the
Yeah.
old school British shows. So it's like those things are like 720p or even 720i, if that's even used for movies. But it's I end up watching what I want to watch, man. It's I understand the craze with high definition Dolby Vision, but a lot of the things that I really love to watch and not even in 1080 HD.
I think that's where I'm lucky, and that's why we can talk about the rabbit hole. I don't mind speaking about it, but I do have some restraint. I do. And I think a lot of it comes with it's everything, right? It's your upbringing, your background. It's what you. It's just how you feel about things, right? And of course, your budget, right, makes a big difference too, right? Because if you have the kind of budget where buying one of those what's the one you always mention, Paul? The projectors that are just like movie theater type
The
projectors.
Christie's and the
Oh,
380s.
either a Barco or a
Barco,
Christie
Yeah,
Christie.
yeah.
or
So,
what you
if
see
you
a
have the
lot of the
budget for
time.
that, yeah, if you don't have to save to get that and you actually have the budget to buy it, then, it's one of those things. Um, with me, and it's funny because when I hear you guys talk about never being finished, I think for me, I think I'm looking at it the opposite way. And I know you guys probably say, yeah, he's saying that now. But I think you'll see as I stick around here, I'm looking at it the opposite way. Like, because my space isn't just, my movie space, right? My space is my cave to come and hang out and just kind of, have relax. That's what I do. I come down, I play games, I race and I listen to music, you know what I mean? So I have other things that I actually do. And I've had a lot of hobbies, right? And in every case, I've spent so much money on hobbies. When I look back, I enjoy my hobbies, but when I look back at how I progressed through a hobby, um, I'm getting to the point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore, right? I don't want to go crazy with stuff. What I want to do, and I won't, dispute this. What I do want to do is get a level of equipment that gives me the enjoyment so I don't have to think about it anymore. And then once I have that, then I'm pretty settled, you know, unless you guys start bullying me into buying something again, I'm usually pretty good.
I that's me and Fred get along well because we kind of. I know a lot of people say buy once, cry once, right?
Mhm.
But I like to experience things, like a
Mhm.
lot of things. Home theater, motorcycles, surfing, snowboarding, skiing, wakeboarding. And I don't want to. I don't want to go all in whenever I'm trying to just experience things. So a lot of
Mhm.
people have this mentality of, oh, don't do that because then you'll end up upgrading. Well, sometimes you experience something and then you're like, I'm not into this particular hobby that much, and I'm done with it. And you didn't go all in. Now, some people will
Mhm.
argue, oh, well, you didn't have a good experience because you didn't, you know, go all in. And it's like, I don't really believe that because you can always experience things from other shared experiences, or you can borrow other people's, if it's a material thing, you can always experience those from other dollar motorcycles. Some people have $1 million home theaters. It's just all
Mhm.
about what you're into, and you got to find your hobby that keeps you motivated. Because I love
Mhm.
I love home theater and audio, but I'm not as dedicated as probably any of you other guys, because I'm like, oh, okay, it's just all a part of how do I experience, good times with people is where I'm really coming from on anything I do, really. So
Yeah, and
So
I can
basically, you're the
attest to
good
that
guy, and
because
the rest
Fred.
of
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
now I'm saying basically Paul is a good guy, and the rest of us are the bad guys.
That's
What are you doing?
that's
Taking the high
exactly where I
road?
was
That's
not
what
going
the
with that.
main bad guy
You're taking the
does.
high
He makes
road?
all the good guys look bad. Wow.
No, I can definitely attest to that because like I said, Ike and I, Paul, Seabig, or Chuck, we all met out at M-Wave, and Paul made sure that all of us had a great time in his hometown. So I'm definitely grateful for that, even though I didn't get to come over and see his home theater. But hopefully this time you're on the list of my home theater tours. I got four of them now.
I don't have a Kaleidoscape and a JVC, so you're automatically going to be like, oh nope, not enough money spent in this room. I'm a check, nope, Ford.
I'm
Well,
not sure if I
you
should
don't
be
have
laughing.
818s. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say,
all the
Paul
time.
used to give me such a hard time about, especially the Kaleidoscape, but some of the other stuff, until talking with Don and some other stuff, and a little bit with Paul, I decided to get a Zapedi as well. And then it was like, okay, well, I was like, maybe I need to get the Zapedi NAS. And Paul's like, "Don't, you can just do your own NAS. Like, I'll walk you through it." And to his credit, he was amazing in helping me. And I think I'm surprised he still has all his hair from trying to help me, because I would have thought he'd ripped it out. And I swear there was more than once where he's like, "Man, I get it now. No, you just stick to your Kaleidoscape, man. This is beyond you."
Paul is our
And
unhired IT guy. As a matter of fact, I
that
reached out to
unpaid,
him yesterday.
not
Yeah.
unhired. I've been on many jobs.
So, okay, I stand corrected. Unpaid IT guy. As a matter of fact, I reached out to him yesterday. I'm like, hey, Fred needs some help. His Mac went down, and he's probably going to be using it for the show tomorrow. Can you help him? No heads up, no nothing. Here's his number. Please call him.
Yeah, it's funny because and it's funny. I wasn't going to be using my Mac for this, but that's my primary machine, right? And I was not a happy camper, right? And I was telling Paul when he reached out, I actually I worked on it in the daytime, and then at night I just came downstairs. I had some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I listened to music, and I didn't think about it anymore until the next day. But Paul was so helpful. We had like some really good conversation, and the conversation's always good with Paul, and we talked a lot about it, and I'm glad that the approach was that we took was what we took, because I was so busy playing around with this external drive that I had attached to it, because I had problems with the internal drive, the Fusion drive. And Paul just kind of, we were talking, and he was like, yeah. And I said, Paul, what do you think? You think I should just go ahead and try to fix the internal, or you think we should do the? And he said, I'd do the internal. Forget that. And you know what? It turned out to be an excellent choice, right? Because everything's working now, and it's working almost as good as a brand new Mac. So I'm a happy camper.
So
knows
Paul
that I
is
get,
for hire,
He
with
just
no
make
pay.
sure you
No,
Yeah.
no. We appreciate, and he's helped me
I'd
out
rather
with my
mow
Mac.
someone's lawn than fix someone's computer. Like, I'll take cash for mowing your lawn, but
Or
I don't
or
want
or,
anything
or
to
you
do
can
with.
you can subscribe to his OnlyFans. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about supporting him.
For us OGs watching, we know all about the nip slip.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
Don,
we
I
do.
think you were my first subscriber, so
I send super chats daily.
Remember all those days out in Hawaii when Paul was out in Hawaii?
Oh yeah. See, you were really. I was like, oh wow, our whole trip just got funded.
Okay, I think it's time to get Fred ready for the home theater before we
I
go
think
left
so.
field.
I think so. Let's give everybody what they're waiting for. Mr. Fred's tour. You guys are going to be excited about this. Fred, if you wouldn't mind getting your camera set up for that. Um,
Absolutely.
what I'd like to do also is thank everyone from my channel, Horizon Home Theater. I actually was able to hit 500 subscribers this week. So, and believe it or not, one of the 500 subscriber is actually in the chat right now. So living it with Scott and Kat's podcast. I actually subscribed to the channel. They were my 500 subscriber. So thank you for putting me over that little milestone there. If you guys haven't tuned into living it with Scott and Kat's podcast, make sure you guys go over there and subscribe to them. They have accomplished something that I've not seen anyone do in such a quick amount of time. I think within like 6 weeks they've hit over 1,000 subscribers. So kudos to them. They're obviously doing something right over there. Hopefully we can get them on the channel, or we can join their channel one day also. But big thank you to Living It with Scott and Kat's podcast. Thank you so much for making that 500 milestone for me. Mr. Fred, back yet?
I
What's
think
what's the
we.
channel that you were talking about? What's the premise or
So they do a little bit of everything there. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Scott. He's on Facebook a lot. Um, Michael Youthman has done several home theater tours at his house. He's the gentleman with the super tall RTJ stack in his living room next to his fireplace that you may see on
so
all
it's
of Michael's
home theater
Yep.
okay,
home
cool. Okay. Home
home theater
theater
and travel.
inspired
They talk about a little
travel.
bit of
Oh,
everything.
travel.
You
Oh,
know, they
cool.
like to travel, so it's a little bit of a mixture of home theater and travel and other things. So, you know, but it's definitely an interesting show. So make sure you get over there and subscribe to their channel also.
Yep. I think
Cool.
we have. Let's see. Let me try to pull Fred back in. Fred, are you ready to share your screen? I think he is. So let's get Fred.
Yeah, you better ask when it
So
comes to
before we
Fred.
get Fred
He's
to
not ready.
yeah, he might be in his underwear or something. We don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
You gotta double check. You gotta double check. You gotta make sure.
That
Yeah.
dude
no,
is
before you do that, I'd
okay.
like to show some of Fred's pictures prior to his transformation.
Okay.
I know he sent in a couple pictures, so if you can screen share those, and maybe he can take a look at that
Yeah.
and
Let
walk
me
us
do.
through
Let me.
what he did prior uh, to his major transformation that he's got going on.
So I have some of the pictures on screen, and let me pull Fred in if I can find him. There you go.
This is the
I
There we
got you,
go.
Fred. You on mute? Okay. I think you're muted, Fred. Your mic is muted.
Technicalities of the on the fly show.
Yep.
We're unscripted over here.
He's on mute.
All right.
So let's try to get
Let's.
him.
Hey, we
He,
did practice this yesterday.
you there,
All
Fred?
right. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, it
Yes,
looks
We
like I'm
can hear you
unmuted now.
now.
Can you hear me?
we can hear you now.
You know, I
No.
was not muted. I don't know why. Like the little mute thing was not muted, but then on the screen it did
Ah.
show the microphone muted. I'm not sure why.
It's
So yeah,
all good.
if you go to the pictures, then I can just kind of walk through it. Mike, the picture there's a picture where there's just the television, I think, sitting on top of the stand, and there's like some speakers or something on the floor.
Yeah. Let me.
Um,
Yeah.
that
Let me.
that's mhm.
Where you want to start? Let me switch to
Yeah.
that. Okay. So I got it. It's on
Okay.
screen now.
Okay, yeah. So when I first came to the house, those were my Boston Acoustic A200 speakers. They're probably about 40 years old. Um, and I think those are, if I'm not mistaken, I think those are the SB 2000 Pros subwoofers that are sitting next to them. And then on the sides, I think they're just some like my Infinity bookshelf monitors that I was using. Um, and that was my 82-inch OLED sitting on a stand, and I had it like that for a while before the light bulb went off, and I said, why don't I just mount it on the wall? Um, so it was kind of funny. So the room was that color when I came here, just kind of like this like beige, everywhere. So that's how I started. And as you can see on the side, I just had some boxes because I think like my amps and some stuff were in there. And then
Yep.
that photo, that's when I mounted all my Infinity bookshelf monitors on the walls. And you can see at that point, I think I had four uh, subwoofers. There's two at the rear behind the chairs, and then there's two in the front. All those speakers were mounted. As you can see, I think I only had four overheads at the time. So I had four Infinity bookshelf speakers on the ceiling, and of course my surround backs and sides, and my Boston Acoustics up front. So we can go to the next, and you can see the walls again. The color was just that's what it
Okay.
was,
And
you
then
know.
you found the rabbit hole. Let me increase this.
I had from the beginning. I knew that I wanted to paint the room because I didn't like the beige, beige on the wall. I wanted to make it so that I would get a little, like when I turned the lights down, with the OLED television, it would give me a nice image. So then I had a plan. I was like, okay, I'm going to paint the walls, and I was trying to find the right color gray, and I was really picky about the gray. The gray that's on the wall is called mineral gray, and that's a Sherwin-Williams color. And then the ceiling, I didn't want a black ceiling or a gray ceiling, so I went with the red. And it probably looks a little more red in the picture than it is, but I just wanted something that was different, so I went with that. And then the front wall where the television is, that is black, and that's that deep black. I think it's called, I forget what it's called, acorn or something black. It's another Sherwin-Williams color. So that was my initial, setup. After I got the place painted, you can still see the subwoofers in the back. And then if you go to the next picture, I think I have yeah, that's when I put the acoustic panels on the walls, and my clouds on the ceiling. So I have clouds up at the front, um, for the front speakers, so I don't get any reflection from the ceiling. And then I have clouds over my seating area, so I can reduce the reflection over my seating area. And that's when I still had the Infinity bookshelf monitors on the walls. They stuck out a lot more because they were a little bit bigger than what I'm currently using. But what do we have? What else do we have?
Let's see. I think I need to. I gotta open some
That
of
may be
this.
it. I'm just not sure. I just don't remember what I sent.
Yeah,
So you
I
can
think there's probably
let's
just
look at that.
different
Yeah, that yeah
angles.
that yeah that was well that was when I still had my Boston Acoustic speakers up front, right? My A200s, and I had my that brown that entertainment stand that I had for like about 40 years. So and that little where my center speaker is, that's just a box that my brother made that for my center speaker to go, and I kind of just measured it. And since I don't know how to build anything, I'm not handy, he made it for me. And you can see I had bass traps on the front wall on the sides of my television, which I no longer have there. And I think that may be the last picture. I'm not sure.
So, Fred, who did you? I noticed that each one of these iterations of these pictures, you gained more and more. Who did you go with for your treatments?
Oh, okay. So my treatments, believe it or not, I had all my treatments all at the same time. It's just that in the pictures, I think I'm showing a little bit more or a little bit less, but I got all my treatment. I went with GIK. So what happened was I was trying to find, and that is in the picture that we're looking at now, I actually have my Arundel speakers there. And, they're kind of in the same spot as everything else was. but it's not like that now. So we'll take a peek. But um, yeah, I went with GIK. I was all over the internet. There's even a place called Acoustic Fields or something like that, and I had a consultation with them, and GIK was, they kind of had, what I wanted and the price, and then I was thinking they were in Atlanta. I'm in Georgia, so it'll be easy to get these things. No, that's not the case because um, they did. I sent them like a diagram of my room, dimensions and everything, and then we had a few talks on the phone, and he kind of laid out what I should get for my front area, and then I asked him the question. I said, "Well, listen, if I," because he asked me what my budget was, and I said $100, and he just kind of laughed, and I didn't know the panels actually cost as much as they did. So after we talked and he did, yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea. And so we did the plan, and I only had the clouds for the front, and like the panels for the absorption panels for the first reflection areas, and then a couple diffusers, and that was the plan. I have that somewhere. And then I just asked the question. I said, okay, listen, I don't want to keep doing this. So if you were going to do my whole room, what would you do? Lay that out for me and let me know what it cost. And that's what we did. We laid it out and we just went over why we were doing everything. And then I said, okay, that's what we're shipping. And that's what I ended up getting. And that
Okay,
picture is
and
when I actually, yeah, go ahead.
that is a current picture of your theater, correct?
Yep.
Yes. Hmm.
And
Yeah, I
Wow, so
went
you
from a
went from
83 inch.
the OLED to the
Hmm.
to the projection screen.
To,
And
yeah.
I've been privy to this backstory. So let's talk about how how we went from the 83 inch to a projection screen because I am a member of the Daily Hi-Fi show and have access to the after show. I know that this was not something that was an easy decision for you. So talk us through that a little bit.
Yes, because being a mature adult here, some may, question that. I'm just the type that I had the 83-inch OLED. When I was coming, when I was actually moving into the house, I was going to purchase the 77. I wanted the 83, but I didn't want the price. I didn't like that price because there was a huge difference in price between 77 OLED, and 83. So I was debating and I spoke to a good friend of mine, and I just kind of told her my dilemma, and then she said to me, which she's like Jonathan's wife, because she kept Jonathan said his wife said, "Oh, you need a gift. Go buy yourself some, and go buy yourself this. Go buy yourself." She said to me, she says, "Well, you should get the 83. That's what you really want." And I said, "You know what? You're perfect to have around. You're absolutely correct. That's what I'm getting." So I got the 83, and I was 100% happy with it because the image on an OLED in high definite, I mean in HDR, it's unmatched. It's just simply unmatched. So I was satisfied. It was on a black wall, and when I played my movies, I was happy because when the screen went by, it went black, and I was like, "Oh, this is great!" And the experience was just amazing. And then you guys kind of started to poke at me a little bit and say, after I matched my speakers, because that was the other thing. I had like a Frankenstein system because I had my Boston Acoustics as my primary. I had my Infinity bookshelf monitors, as others, surround speakers, and there was a bunch of stuff. So, Joe one time was saying, you need to voice match your speakers. And then I said,
Right.
yeah, okay. So I ended up doing that. But then the question was, you guys started to say, well, you really need a projector to go with the sound that you have. It just doesn't match. And I resisted. I immediately dug my feet in the sand and I was like, no, I am not doing that. And because again, this is my man cave. This is not like some theater or something. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And then
It's
I
not a
went back
theater,
and
but it's got 3 theater seats. It's got Atmos from
yeah,
the
because
beginning.
yeah, that's important because when I was looking at seating for downstairs, I saw like everything that I looked at. I was actually surprised when I was on Wayfair and some of the other places. A lot of the seats that they had looked like theater seats. You know what I mean? It was like kind of laid out like theater seats. So then I was just thinking, I said, I may as well just get the theater seats. You know what I mean? It's just, I may
Yeah,
as well just go ahead
definitely.
and get those. Yeah. So yeah. Look, I still don't think of it as a theater. It may look that way. You may look at it and say, how could you say that when you have all that stuff in there? But I just wanted everything that I needed to be able to enjoy the experience, right? And so when the question was asked, well, why aren't you getting a projector? My answer was, well, it's more trouble than it's worth, right? Having to mount that stuff. When I came into my room, I just get my remote control and I hit the thing and the TV comes on and everything just works. And I was like thinking, I don't want the complexity of a projector and all that other stuff that goes along with it. So I didn't want it. And of course, you guys eventually convinced me to get it. And I think what really got me though, going back to what I was saying before about being, you have to sometimes be level headed and kind of go, do I really need this? When we were talking about projectors, and I was like, and I was the same way with my speakers. I was like, I am not going to spend $30,000 for a projector, and I'm not going to spend $16,000 for a projector. So when Joe was looking at the BenQ, I have I think it's HT4550i. He was looking at and he was saying how he was really impressed with it. It was really bright. The colors were really accurate. And then my ears just like, like the way the dogs, I was like, that sounds like what I want because he said it was only $3,000. And I'm like, that's it. That's the one that I want because I don't want to go too far down the hole because I do that all the time. And I felt like I would enjoy the experience and I wouldn't need to have a $30,000 projector to do it. And I believe that that is correct because I went from an OLED. I was a person that loved the pure blacks, just like that high dynamic range of an OLED. And I went to this projector and I am 100% happy. I sit down and I watch movies. I don't even think about my OLED anymore because it's the fact that the image, it's everything that I didn't think it would be. I was so used to when I used to go to the movie theaters many, many years ago, it never really looked that great. It never sounded that great because they always would turn it like super loud. Just, I don't know why. There must have been something in the book that said turn it louder than they want it. So I didn't enjoy that experience. And when I saw the projector for the first time, I was so impressed. I never looked back. And I described the difference to people, like for me, what it was going from an OLED to a projector. When I had my OLED, it was like looking through a crystal clear window of the world. Everything was perfect. But then when I went to the projector, it's a 142-inch screen, and it was like being able to not have to look through the window anymore, just stepping outside and being able to just experience the whole space, right? And that's what I felt.
Yeah. So, Fred, we have your camera pointing towards your screen, so you're ready to start the tour whenever you want.
Yes, I'll just pick up
So, yeah,
it may be a little shaky. I don't have a fancy gimbal. So I'm going to just pick up the whole tripod and walk over there with it. And
yeah,
this is the
that's
phone that
fine.
I'm giving to my son, right? So if I drop it, then he's going to be pissed.
Yeah, so
So,
that's fine.
so if we start where I was sitting, you can probably see my Formula One wheel there. But right next to it, the reason I'm showing you is because I have next to it an old M&K subwoofer that I used to use until I upgraded a bunch of my stuff way back when. But then I have an SVS SB3000 sub on that side, right? And then, we start to
Got
move
those
into
nice
my,
diffuser panels. Those are nice. I
yeah,
like those.
those, I start all the way, back here. Yep, I got diffusers for back there. Then I have my Arendelle 1961 monitor speakers for my rear surround. Of course, the same thing is happening on the other side. I have an SVS SB3000, and I have the panel, and I have the
What are those
1961
penguins you
monitor.
got on top of that sound panel? How do they manage?
I used to
How do
run
they
I
manage to
used to run,
stay there?
yeah, I used to run a Linux team, And I used to go to, like, the vendors used to always give me these, little penguins because that was the mascot for the Linux thing. So I have those like everywhere, and I just never, I just
Hey,
love them. So I
that's what
just
we like
keep them.
about People Steer, the little intricacies that they not only just the equipment, but the little intricacies that they put in their theater. So
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry to
can't help
interrupt you there.
ourselves
Go
with
ahead.
that. No, that's okay. I'm glad because I love those little guys. That's why they're still here. Um, but yeah, so
I'm holding
I'm gonna
back on
cut
my
that out.
comments. I'm holding
yeah.
back on my
So,
comments. That's all I can
so
say.
as we walk in, you can see this is a full size panel. I don't know if you can see the whole thing, but then next to it
Oh, yeah.
is like a smaller one, like a little thinner one, because we needed to fill the space. And then I have another 1961 monitor, and you can see it's pretty close into the wall. I had it originally on the bracket that I had the old speakers on, and then one day I just decided to just use the VISA mount, and the brackets, and put them flush onto the wall. And so as we look into my theater room, I'll walk in. I'm trying to do this the best way. If I'm like doing this in a way that doesn't make any sense, you guys just stop me, make me go back, because I. So as we walk in, you'll see I have the Arundel 1723 tower.
Can you take the cover
And
off those Arundels? Do you mind?
I can. I never keep them that way because I know, see, and that's the difference. Like I was saying to you, I love woofers, tweeters, drivers,
I
crossover network.
collect them naked. You
Yeah.
know,
See,
you,
but
you
the
like
thing that
to
I've
see
learned,
them dressed up.
yeah,
You know.
you know what I've learned? I've learned over time that even though I like seeing it like that, since I do this for the experience, I don't even, it doesn't even phase me anymore to not have, the grills off of the speakers. So I just leave them on. I never take them off. They're magnetic, so it's really cool. Um, but yeah, um, so that's those. And then up above, I have 1961 bookshelves, right, on the ceiling. Of course, you see my clouds up here. I mounted them, so don't laugh that they're crooked because I'm terrible at mounting stuff. Um, so I have my 1961s, and so I have so like everyone talks about, it's a 7.1 because there's only one LFE channel, right? Point 0.6. So that's what it is technically. But I have 4 subs, so you could say 7.4.6. But yeah, so up above, and I have the middle heights, I have them laid down, and I have the tweeter points like right at my ear. It's like right level with the
Okay.
ear. So yeah, and
And
then in the
what
rears,
did you do to mount them up there? Are you using a
I'll show you
bracket
that.
or?
I'm using a bracket. This is the rear one. It's hard to see it because it's so dark back in here. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using the brackets. I'm using the same ones that I was using. Tell me if you can see this. These
Oh
brackets,
yeah,
it's
we
the
can
same
see that one
brackets.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, I was using and then if you look at the back, this piece, do you see there's a piece of wood sticking up from the speaker?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yep.
block. I made blocks and I put the VISA mounts, it's mounted into the VISA mount. And then I screwed the brackets into that because I didn't want to screw them into the back of the speakers. I did that in the past. Like my other speakers, the brackets were screwed directly into the speaker. So then I have these. These are Seatcraft seats. They all come with the trays. So inside each of the armrests, there's a tray for each speaker, each seat in the tray. I only take out the one that I need, which is this one. The other ones, as a matter of fact, they still have the. They still have, if you can see, they still have the little styrofoam thing or whatever that is on there because I don't even use them. And then these seats also have they have the shakers in them built into them.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't use it though. I don't use it. I never hooked up an amp to it, so I don't because I'm not into that. But yeah, it's built in. If I lift up the back thing, you'll see the transducer in there.
Hey, if you got them, you might as
So
well try them out one day.
I
You know.
thought about it. But again, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, right? I don't even want to start messing with that. So
Do
I'm
you,
just
do
You
you
like,
can get
remember
you can
what?
get a cheap amp, and I say cheap. And I apologize, but you can get like a Croson not a Croson, a Crown amp for
Okay.
like, you can find a nice used one for like 200-300 bucks, something like that,
Okay.
that you're not jumping down that big rabbit hole. And you can find one that's like 600 watts to push those butt shakers
Yeah.
for you. And if you get it tuned right, I heard that it's really, really nice. I don't have any shakers myself. But
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
what
yeah,
mod?
They're
Do you know
built
what
in.
model the seats are?
My seats are the Equinox. I have the Equinox. And yeah, if you look it up, you'll see it has
yeah,
the
Big
shakers
Jack
are
agrees with
built
me.
in.
All you need is a Crown amp to get those things going, and it's a fairly cheap on the cheaper side of an amp,
Yeah.
so it's something that you know for not a lot of money you can get into. And I think the only thing you got to do is just be able to mess with the phase and the alignment, to get them
Okay.
timed right. So
Yeah, the only
Gotcha.
thing when dealing with amplifiers, as far as uh, like bass shakers or tactile, it's true you can pretty much buy the cheapest or a PA or a amp, but the only difference is Crown, butt kicker, any stage or uh, you know theatrical amplification is going to be 1,000 feet away from the show, so they're not worried about sound that the amp makes. So a lot of these Crown and butt kicker amps, that's the only thing you got to keep in mind is some of them have fans that are literally like your
yeah,
car
that's a
engine
good point.
starting. That's the only thing that. But yeah, they do the same exact thing. It's
Yeah, I've
just
saw a bunch of videos on the Behringer amp that that you change the fans out and stuff like that in them to make
yeah.
them quieter. Yeah,
And you got to be
that's a
really, really
fantastic point.
careful with that. And most of the time, with those, with what people use at home, there's a lot of people that even mod those don't realize you. The reason the fans are loud because they push a lot of air because they need to, because they're usually doing a auditorium or an amphitheater, and they're basically using most of their power most of the time. And when you start making it quieter, well, guess what you're hearing? Wind turbulence, wind force. Well, once you slow that down, but most of the time when you're at home and you do those mods, it's more than sufficient enough to, you know, create that experience with the tactile transducers of any kind. It's not like you're, trying to present butt kickers to 10,000 people, you know. So it's, but
Yeah,
it's definitely. I haven't done the butt kicker route yet, but one day I might
I
end up
haven't.
doing that. Oh, have you?
Yeah.
you have them, Jonathan?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember which
What
seats
do
I
you think
have.
about them?
I like them. This is one of the places where I started going down a rabbit hole that was way more expensive, and then pulled myself back. I'm trying to, Don or Paul. Do you guys remember there's these like crazy? They use them in movie theaters too, but you can get them for your home. They're theater seats, but they actually
Oh, the
move.
D box, D
The D
box.
box. So
Ah,
I started going down the
oh,
idea of buying D box for my theater, and the thing I'm really glad, which I normally don't do. I normally kind of jump in with both feet before I think things through all the way. Is they were fairly. I mean, in home theater seating, you can get crazy expensive, but these are. I think you were talking 6 or 7 grand a piece
mhm.
for the D box ones. And those were I think for only that moved on 2 axis, not the 3 axis ones.
Oh,
But what
okay.
I did was I found a theater, actually in southern New Hampshire, that had a theater with D box seats available. Not the whole theater, but you could pay extra to have one. And I was like, you know what? Like, let me go watch a movie and see if I like it. And so I went to see. I think it was a Marvel movie. It was The Eternals, um, and I hated the D box seats, um, because to me they move so much. And I can understand why they would be cool, because I remember hearing guys talk about how, like, if you set it up with like a kaleidoscope and other stuff, in like 1941, for example, one of the opening scenes where they're doing a bomb run, and the seat picks you up and tilts you forward, and you feel like you're. What I realized in the Eternals is, at least for me, it distracts me from the movie because I'm so interested in what's going on around me, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, but it takes me out of the movie.
But
So
aren't the movies like supposedly customized to D-Box? Because I think we got to experience it at CEDIA, right? And my impression was it only works in specific movies, right? That D-Box kind
correct.
of
Well,
programs
yeah, in
into the
any of
software.
those, yeah, any of that, like air. Now they're doing odor, believe it or not. Air, motion, whatever it is. You literally are
4DX.
relying. Yeah, they have
On a
7 and 8
programmer,
D
yeah.
8DX. Yeah, you have to program it in. You have to, and that's where like Kaleidoscape would, that's the like a big thing with Kaleidoscape, because a lot of their movies and stuff, people will integrate with that, so that's where
Yeah.
like Kaleidoscape is like king. Otherwise, you're having to do it yourself
Uh,
with,
So Dream
I
Media
have to
just
sit down
came.
there and shake at this point, or do this with
Yeah,
with the
so
program.
Dream Media just did a video. I think it was this week or last week, on the D box seats, the JMAR seats with the
Yeah.
D box apparatus
yeah.
in it. And I believe there's like, I think they said there's like 3 to 4 thousand titles that are all pre set up to work with your system. And
Yeah, and it's the ones that you want. I mean, going back to my earlier comment before we were on air about, the first thing watching my Kaleidoscape was Moon over Parador. I don't need D-Box for Moon over Parador.
right.
Uh, but so the point was, I did find it too distracting, at least for me. So that steered me away from it. So I got kind of very similar to what you have there. It might be the same company. I'm trying to. There's like the two big companies that I
Yeah,
was
I think
looking at.
JMR was the one we experienced at CEDIA. So
Yeah.
yeah, they have
But
some
for
really.
I want to say it was like $300 or $400 upcharge for the seats. Um, and I only ended up with 2 seats. I ordered 3. One came broken, and then it didn't really fit well anyway, so it worked out great for me because I took it right back. But I did get the butt kickers in them, and I enjoy it. You adjust the level. It's just running off your LFE channel there, and so for me, it just adds I don't have them cranked up. It's just a little bit of tactile feel in big explosion scenes and things like, it's the a fighter taking off in the new Top Gun or something. The seat rattles a little bit. It's a cool little thing, but it doesn't take me out of watching the actual movie.
And
Okay,
does
Yeah,
that
that's a
so
great
help with
tip.
lower listening volumes as well? Because to me, I've always thought that the tactile transducers is, hey, maybe I don't want to I don't listen at reference
I never listen at reference
anyways.
ever.
Um,
Yeah.
but I also, I like bass. I like some of the tactile feel I get, and I'm wondering
I know
if
I know what
if
you're
I
asking,
had the
Paul.
chance. Yeah. Okay.
I know what you're asking, and to me, my answer, because you can adjust it independently, is yes. It doesn't affect the level I play. Again, I'm not at reference guy either. So I think for me, I still play it at the same volume I would anyway, but by kicking it up a little bit, I get that louder, or that bigger bass effect, with the overall volume being where I'm more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so the answer
So
to your
that's one of
question,
those
yeah.
things. Yeah, I might. One of these days, I might actually go down that rabbit hole. And the reason I haven't, because I was in car audio for a while, and they had textile transducers when they first came out, and they suck so bad, and they were so delayed, and I was just like, what? Why? Just send another 5,000 watts to your subwoofer. You don't need tactile
I'm in a glass
transducers
box.
in
Yeah.
the car. Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah, exactly. And that was my limited experience with, and I've demoed other people's theaters and stuff, but I've never really. Every time I go to a demo, they're always trying to, for lack of a better term, show off. So they're not like, oh, hey, let's listen to negative 30 dB and let you experience these transducers at a matched level to where you still get an That's to me why I would want the textile, bass shakers or croissants or whatever. I want to be able to listen at like 40 negative 40 dB and be like, oh, I'm still getting that bass experience, and no one else
And
even
I
knows
think,
I'm watching a movie, you know.
Yeah,
and I,
yeah.
and I
That would
think
be
So hey,
pretty
Fred,
nice.
Okay,
you
let's
got
go back.
this.
Let's go back to
Yeah,
Fred,
that's what I
man.
was.
Yeah, you're
We're,
you're in
we're,
charge.
we're making Fred stand up all this time.
Yeah, if you
So
slow down,
we
Paul is gonna talk
we
us till daybreak. So
Yep, yeah, I told
we
you,
Yeah,
don't invite me
I was
unless you
gonna.
want somebody to
Hey,
talk
no,
all day
the more
long.
the merrier. The more the merrier, guys. Thank you
Yeah.
for contributing, because that's a lot of good points that I didn't think about, especially with the amp there, Paul, with making all that noise. Fred, so we kind of went through, what you had for speaker wise. What about equipment wise? What do you have
Yeah, I'm
powering
going to show you
and
that. I'll
everything
walk over
else?
there. I just want to say one thing. It's funny because this function with the lights, I don't even know when you would ever use that, because I can't imagine watching a movie with those lights on. But I do have a friend that said to me when they were watching a movie, "Can you turn those on?" I'm like, "Wow." Okay, so equipment I have, like I said, I'm a music lover. So I have for my media, I have this Eversolo DMP A6, and I use the XLRs on that, so I can get my two channel stuff. The Apple TV, which is a new addition. When I got the projector, then I got the Apple TV, and this is my Blu-ray player. So it's the Panasonic UHD. It won't focus, but it's the UB820. And then
Yeah,
of course I have,
that's a nice player.
yeah, I had a I think it was a Sony before that, and it died on
Hmm.
me, and so I said I'll never buy another Sony ever. So I was looking at the reviews and I ended up buying that. And then that's my Zidu. It's like I said, UHD 3000. Then I have the Marantz AV10 as my processor, and I got that because I wanted the four subwoofer outs, I wanted the six overhead Dolby Atmos speakers, and I wanted Dirac Live, and I have it, and now it's like, okay, you have it, but okay. Um, and so then I
Uh,
have two more
So the
SB3000s. Right.
question, you went from
Uh-huh.
4 to 6 overhead Atmos.
Yes.
Did
I went
do
from
you,
actually I went from 2 to 4 to 6.
oh, okay.
And yeah,
How did
yeah.
how did you like the
The transition
experience,
from one to the,
or
okay. So
yeah,
so I'll say
what
this
was
to you.
your experience with going from
Okay.
2 to 6 overhead?
Okay. So, and this is the thing that, like, sometimes I think when people have the placebo effect and they want to say that it's better because, because they think it is, and it's not. Okay. So when I had two overheads, I noticed that the most. The two overheads, because they were, I had, when you do the just two, it's right over your seating area. So it's centered with the seats, right? Um, and when I had those, and I played Ready Player One, and when Kong was over above head, I got the most effect when it was just those two speakers. When I went to four, the difference was that you can kind of get a little bit more movement from him, but to me, it wasn't enough to really make it that much difference. And when I went from 4 to 6, um, there's only like, you know, there's not many times that I notice that, and I'm like, oh my God, all six speakers are, because I notice that mostly when I have scenes that have heavy rain, right? And the rain is like coming from everywhere, like everywhere. So that's when I notice it the most, and I'll say that. So if someone asks the question, I would say get it, because if you get it, you'll never say to yourself, I should have gotten it, right? There's nothing else to get. It's just there. And if it gets good use, it gets good use, right? You have it. And that's what I would recommend to anyone. But
Yeah.
really, in a small space, you don't really need it.
Yeah, because I'm about to actually do that tomorrow, right? I'm about to install 6 um,
Hmm.
angled, some cheap monolith height speakers that are angled. That's the
Hmm.
next upgrade that I'm about to do in the home theater tomorrow. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference in what I hear, but I guess I just, like you said, it's
Yeah,
put it there, and if have it and don't need it, and rather than needing it and not having it. So
exactly. And that was my approach to that. So I'm happy. I like when I speak about it, it may sound, you may think he doesn't sound thrilled. It's not that. It's just that it's one of those things where it's there when the experience calls for it, it's there and I enjoy it. But I wouldn't just push someone down that road. And my center speaker, you could probably see that it's on an angle because I'm trying to point it up towards my ears. And what I'm using to do that are I don't know if you guys know the workout wedges that you use to do squats and all that. They sell them, they're like rubber wedges. I got those and I use those for that. Then for my amplification, I have this bottom one is the biggest amp. It's the Emotiva XPA5 Gen 1, so that's a 5 channel. Then I have the Bass X A3, that's a 3 channel. And then I have 2 of the Bass X A4s. So there's some channels that I have that are not even being used on some of those amplifiers,
So
right?
which ones
I
are
just
driving your front speakers versus your
The front
surrounds?
speakers, the fronts are being driven by the big guy, the XPA5. So my front, center, my two fronts in the center, that's 3, and then my 2 side surrounds. Those are all being driven by that big amp, the big one at the bottom. And then I went to the next highest powered amp, which would be the 3 channel. So the 3 channel is running the 2 back surrounds, and so it's an empty channel on that amp that's not being used. Then my 4 of the overheads are on one of these A4s, and the other 2 are on the other one. So there's some, like I said, I have some channels that are not even being used there. Um, I was
Now
going to
you
go
were
with
you were thinking about going
mhm,
with the
with the
Marantz,
Marantz Amp 10. Yeah, the Amp 10. I was going to
and
do that, and one of
how
the
many
reasons
channels did that have on
that
it?
has 15 channels, I believe, right? 15. I
15
think it's
channels in one amp. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and 1 amp and 1 chassis. And
and
that's what I was going to do it for this reason. If you look at my setup, when I had it in the entertainment center, and then when I was going to put it down on the floor so that I could see my projector screen, I was thinking if I got the thing, it would be small. It would be 1 unit, 1 chassis,
yep,
so it wouldn't take up that
yep.
much space, right? And that was the motive, the thinking behind that. But it's paying 7,000. I mean, 14. What is it? $7,000 to do that. So,
Yeah, it's like
eh,
7. And that's one thing where if the justification is meets the means of what you're asking, then do it. You know,
mhm.
like
Yeah,
Jonathan.
definitely.
He made fun of me. You know, poking at him like what? But again, after I got to know him, I'm like, yeah, no, bro, just do Kaleidoscape, man. like, like,
Mhm.
but where I get, you know, where I reserve or pull back is a lot of people are like, oh, if you don't go with the Marantz 15 channel amp that matches that Marantz, oh, then you're not getting as good of an experience. And I'm like, well, eh, maybe. I can't argue that point, but you can still have a really great experience doing the Emotivas. So why did you not go with the Marantz? Is is my question, I guess.
Can I answer that? That would be because Don talked him out of it. Unlike Jonathan says that I talk him into everything. Don talked him out of
Didn't
that.
say everything. Didn't say everything. Do not say
It's like, wait a minute. I got a Kaleidoscape and Trinnov and blah. Wait, I'm a different customer, obviously. What happened here? That's
No, so
hilarious.
we'll talk about Jonathan's when he gets there. But Jonathan told me, "Hey, I'm looking at the Trinoff." I said, "What happened to the HTP one?" That's the neighborhood
Oh,
I
yeah,
was in.
right, right.
So,
Okay, yeah, I remember
Fair
that.
enough.
To be fair.
so Fred, looks like you're firing up your projector. We haven't. You briefly talked about how Joe talked about this projector. What projector are you running?
Oh, dude,
I'm
you're
running
muted.
the BenQ HT 450i. I really like it. I have no complaints at all. Um, I really don't. And like I said, I came from OLED, so I should be complaining left and right about, picture quality, so on and so forth. And I have no complaints. And that's another, again, like I said, I don't plan on. I was with, okay, there's Apple TV. I was trying to get my Apple TV to go on. Okay. All right. So we can get rid of it. Yeah. So I'm extremely happy with it. I have no, uh, I never have remorse or think that I need something more. And I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not changing anything. It only
Right.
costs $3,000. So the way I look at it is like this: if it's only $3,000, then that means that if the projector dies for whatever reason, then I just buy another one, right? But I'm happy with what I'm getting from this one, so I'm definitely not looking to upgrade or anything like that.
I experienced that projector at Tan's house. And two things that I learned. One, I am not a full black, dark out theater room type of person. And that projector is really bright. Like, I was
Yeah.
literally getting eye fatigue from how bright it is because like you can have like a bright light flash in your eyes, and depending on the ambient light around you, your eyes will dilate at different uh I don't know the technical terms. I'm not an optometrist, but it's all differences. That projector, literally, after watching it and demoing it and experiencing his home theater, which is amazing, by the way, he is one of those accuracy to a T type of person. Like, and I know enough, like to a T. Like, it's like I'm like, I didn't even want to say it because he asked me. I was like, yeah, this is accurate. The more accurate it is, the more theaters you experience that are accurate, the more they sound the same. So it's almost like it comes across as boring. Is
Yeah.
because it's like, well, yeah, that's what it's supposed to sound like, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's not special. That's
that
what it sounds
projector
like.
that you have, yeah, I was like, dude, I need like a backlight or something. And he did. He turned on a backlight for me because he had that ability. He was like, oh, well, let me touch another button. And it's whoop. Because my eyes were like, good God. Like, because whenever they go from dark to light to, mid scenes or whatever. And I'm like, Jesus criminy, that thing is, it's bright. It's pretty bright.
Yeah,
So, and
I
the
like
black
it. And the
levels
colors,
were pretty decent too.
it's decent. That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah,
going to say that it's
they're not
perfect, but
they're
it's
not they're not
decent.
JVC level. I'm
Yeah, they're
not.
not,
You
but
know.
but it's decent because I never sit here and go, man, I wish the black levels were. No, I sit here. I'm telling you, I watch movies. I just enjoy it, and I
Yep.
put on something. I enjoy it. I don't even think about it. And so you know what I was trying to find, and I can't find it because YouTube keeps changing the app. I was trying to find. You know how you have save for later videos.
Hmm.
Um, I have a few playlists that I have saved for later, and it used to be when you went to your library that you had that as one of the options. I don't see it. So I can't even go to my HD stuff that I
I
want to
like
go
what
to.
Jonathan had said with the you know his wife coming in and saying, "Well, wow, you need a bigger screen to match your,
Yeah.
because like right now I'm looking at your camera view, right? And I see
Uh-huh.
black, as in I see
Uh-huh.
where it's dark on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
OLED will match that,
Yes.
right? Like
Absolutely.
100%. Like you won't, it will be, you won't even know that there's a TV there. And
That's
then
right.
projection, you get not even close. Even a JVC, which is admittedly way better than any other projector out there as far as black levels,
What
like
size is that
by
screen,
a lot.
Fred?
My screen is a 142. You guys tease me because I didn't make the club, the
Oh,
150 club.
you didn't get the 150 club.
I couldn't, but I couldn't because look at when my screen takes up
No,
my entire wall,
Oh,
right? So
hey,
it's great.
I have a 137, so you have a bigger screen than I do.
oh
It's funny.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I'm
love it though
120.
because
Ike's in the small, Ike's in the growers club. You'll grow up one of
I
these
know,
days.
I know, I know. That's why I'm taking my vitamins. I
He's a
will.
It's how
shower,
you
but not
use
a
them,
grower.
Paul.
Oh man, yeah. But
yes,
the point that I was making is, how do you like the experience with the size?
I was
Because
getting ready to. I was
admittedly,
gonna.
like a JVC projector, 1,000 times better. Black level, if you have the right room for it, amazing. What
Yeah,
you
I'll tell you. I
OLED,
can. I can.
OLED,
I can tell you.
amazing. Yeah, and
I can
how are
tell
you?
you.
What's
That's
your experience with
okay.
your
Okay, I'll tell you what my
projector
experience
and
is.
the size?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. This did things that I did not expect. It was unexpected. Uh, you know, uh, for me. So I didn't realize that my OLED, it was on the black wall. And when it went black, it was completely 100% black, right? So you couldn't tell the difference between the TV and the wall. But the difference is now when things pan off to the sides, because the screen fills the entire front of the room, when it pans to the side, there's no disconnect anymore for me. There's no wall and then sound. You know what I mean? It's like picture, sound goes from the
Can
screen
you mute the
directly to
sound
where it's
on that
supposed to go.
stuff, Fred? Can you mute the
Yeah.
sound just for
Uh-huh.
copyright?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mute. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the difference. That's what I found. Like it even enhances my surround sound because the like I said, there's no disconnect between the screen and the side because my vision in the front, that's all I see in my peripheral, and then when it goes off to the side, it just seems like a perfect transition to, the panning. So I think it's great. So that's what it looks like. I mean, I could have found more colorful things. I was actually looking for my demos, but like I say, YouTube is crazy. So, but you can see it has really good color. I could bring up something more colorful, and you'd really see what this thing can do. I mean, for the price, I'm happy. I tell you, and that was one of the things I was saying.
Yeah, that
Like
does
for
look like a great
$3,000,
picture.
it is. It's a great. I'm telling you, it's an amazing picture. I love it, and that's why I say I have no complaints. I came from OLED, but you don't even hear me
Yeah, you're
complaining,
coming.
saying,
You're coming from OLED,
"Yep,
OLED, right? And not
mm-hmm,
like, you know, you're not talking the Walmart OLED.
exactly."
You're coming from an OLED, like high end
Yes,
OLED, and you're still like, yeah, I like this. It's enjoyable.
that's right. So yeah. So I'm sorry. So yeah.
Hey,
So
I had a
any.
quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What pads are those that you have your speaker on, your center channel? Is that
Oh,
like
that's
just an
that's
acoustic?
that
Is that
it's
Auralex
workout
or?
wedges. It's
Oh, okay.
the workout wedges. They're rubber. They're like a rubber workout wedge. And I got the two-piece ones. If you look at it as two, they give you two and they lock in together. And then you can make it higher or lower if you want it by using one or two wedges. And that's what I'm using. Did I freeze? I think I may have
Yeah, I think you
frozen.
froze a
Yeah,
little bit
you
here.
froze a little bit.
So, the transformation that Fred has made here, You know,
Don't tell me I lost you,
we
guys.
still got you, Fred. You're chopping up just a little bit, but
Okay, yeah, I think now we lost.
you're good to go. We
Audio,
can,
we got him. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we lost the.
You know, the
Okay.
transformation that he had there, and he'll attest to this
Okay,
too,
I'm
is
back.
that, um, you know, sometimes being in this after show group or being part of this community is detrimental to your wallet, right? But you know, eventually, you know, if you do try something, that's the biggest thing. Try it, you know, to see if you like it. And I know, you know, a lot of people are so negative about some products, and we've already mentioned the name of one of them, the Kaleidoscape. You know, if I want to get clickbait views, all I got to do is put Kaleidoscape's better than blah 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 blah, right? And I'll get a bunch of clickbait views, right? And a lot of nasty comments. But until you actually try it and see what the convenience is, and what the use case is for it, and everything else, you really can't judge something. And as Fred mentioned here, you know, he was very resistant to getting a projector. But once, you know, once he was able to actually see one in action, it definitely he did a full 180. And as he mentioned, yes, he was an OLED user, you know, and with the perfect blacks and everything else. But you know, the field of view will definitely immerse you in the movie and in whatever you're doing. Fred, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
So that's why, you know, when you said, "Hey, I haven't hooked these butt kickers up," I'm like, you may be able to find an inexpensive amp just to try it. And you said you got some channels left over on your Base
Yeah, I
X.
have a
I don't
bunch.
know if they'll have enough wattage to push those, but
They
you know,
have,
you may.
I don't even know I don't remember the specs, but yeah, it's over 100. I know that. Over 100 watts on there
Yeah,
too.
so I
So,
mean, you may be able to just try them with that. Just run some speaker
How
wire
many
across the
subs does
floor.
he have? He doesn't he have like
at
4
four,
SB 3000?
yeah,
I
at four
don't
of
know
those,
that he
one here,
needs base shakers. I mean,
one
I know,
he's
right?
here,
in a basement,
one
you know.
there,
I
and
don't know that he needs to turn the volume down. Like,
Look,
and this
there's
may
guys
just
with
be
eight
my.
eighteens that have bass shakers. I mean, butt
I
shakers,
know.
butt kickers, but
Yeah, I know. I know. They have their place. They have their
and
place.
when you said that you were thinking about trying them, that had me kind of raising my eyebrows too, because I know you have near field right behind your seats too,
Yeah,
Paul.
but again, like I said, it's more for the purpose. Like if if it justifies the experience, uh, and you have, like Kaleidoscape, we just talked about that, right? Like I'm I'm going to go down a soapbox here. There's so many things where people say, "Oh, everybody dogs on, us spending a lot of money." It's almost the opposite. It's almost like us poor folks are just defending ourselves like, "Well, no, us nerds invented, made, and created everything you're experiencing. You're just the people that can afford to do that," which some of us that have had different experiences like can agree with that, but for a specific reason. Look, if you're telling me your whatever experience is 1,000 times better because you spent $10,000 on a speaker versus $3,000 or $1,000 or even $300, I'm going to be like, really? Is it really that much? Is that speaker really a 10,000 times better? And us poor folks aren't diminishing the people that can afford this stuff. We're just like, hey, don't tell us we aren't having a good time too, or that we don't know what we're doing, or that we're not experiencing a good time. You
Yeah,
know,
and I agree with you, Paul, on that. I think that
and
tends to be.
that's where Fred, even Jonathan, Jonathan, like me and him, Jonathan will it again. We talked, we became friends, and it's like, well, blah blah blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, even me, the guy that will tell you, no, you don't need that. You can just do this. I was like, no, bro, you need Kaleidoscape. Just hit the buy button
Well,
right there, right now.
and
you
I think
know.
Paul, you'd agree. Like I've never given anyone a hard time because they don't have the stuff that I have.
No, you've
Like
never,
I'm
and
more like,
that's the difference.
yeah,
That's why we're friends, because that's the difference.
yeah.
It's all about experience. It's like, dude, time is money. I get it. And for someone that's been in like an IT field for like 30 years, paying $30,000 or whatever for, what would be like a couple days of work, which admittedly that's a lot, and it's annoying. It's annoying, beyond annoying. Ask Fred. When something
Oh yeah.
breaks, it's like, oh no, oh God, you're cussing up a storm.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
But
Fred, quickly, let's
Yes, sir.
let's take a look at what you got at the back of the room. We know
Oh,
you
I
got
so
like,
we know you got some other side
I,
hobbies.
I, I like, I
yeah.
like Fred. I like Fred's back side
Oh boy,
over
You like
here
my
on
backside?
his
You like my
room.
that
Womp,
better
womp,
my
that
backside than my
womp.
front side? So, um, my theater room, my theater area, of course, is there, and we just turn
It's
around
amazing.
and we split the room right where this divider is, and that's where my speakers are mounted. But then, when we come on this side, this is my gaming side, and I got this light in the way because I had this like lighting when I was sitting. But here's my most amazing possession. That's my Formula One uh, rim and tire. My gaming PC. I'm a gamer. Um, this thing here is a control unit for my OSD, my racing wheel. So we'll go over there in a second. And this is a keyboard that I've been working on lately. As you guys can
Oh
see,
my
it's
God.
yeah, that's
Uh,
going to be my new Beast Boy
I can't
keyboard. I love
believe
that
I
thing.
just saw that, Fred. I can't believe I just saw that.
And
hey,
this is
the
I
man
my
haven't
is into
seen that.
keys, man. He's into
yeah.
keys, man.
This is these are my headphones. The box is over there. It's a true 7.1. It has the drivers and it's not one of those virtual ones. The headphones I use it for my first person shooters. This is my other baby keyboard right here, which I love her so much.
I see you
I,
got
I have a
you
bunch of
got the
keyboards.
kanji on there, right?
Yeah, I have the kanji on there. I love keyboards. I can't help myself. Mechanical keyboards. And this television is for my gaming. It's turned this way, but that's a swivel stand that it's on. And if I have someone I usually sit here and game, right? I have my mouse and keyboard and everything here. But then if someone's going to race here and they're not, if they can't handle the VR, because some people get sick from the VR, then I'll just like swivel the screen directly in front so that they can race with the screen. This is my racing rig. It's a motion rig.
Look at
Um,
that
uh,
thing.
yeah, it's a
You want to
motion
step
rig.
back a little bit so we can get like a
Yeah,
full view of it.
yeah. I was moving
Look
this
at that.
table out of your
Hold
way.
on. I wait. Time out. Time out. Time out. Take a step to the right, please, so I can see. Are those racing shoes over there?
Yes, I have many racing shoes. I have many racing shoes.
Okay, now we take it in a step further. You have racing gloves also.
I have racing gloves. I race with these black ones all the time. Um, and then I definitely, these are the racing shoes I'm currently using. You can see I have my socks in there. And I
So the
had to get
only
these.
thing
These are for
missing
my
is
first one.
your harness and your helmet.
Yeah, I do have belts though. I do have
No,
belts.
I'm just
I do
making
have my
fun. Look at
seat
that.
belts.
There you go. There's the harness.
Yeah, and I have this is a carbon fiber steering wheel that I had made in Spain.
Man, that is
Like I said,
awesome.
yeah, this is motion, like I said, and then I have hydraulic pedals and I have them, inverted. So, because I just like that feel of the inverted pedals. My shifter, of course, you know, I have to have some carbon fiber on my shifter. Yeah, so like I said, that's a QD OLED. It's 55 inch. I got that specific for gaming. I had pre-order it. Then I have the bass traps.
Man,
I
that
had the
is.
same. I had the bass traps in the front too, right? But I took
Now,
them
why
down.
didn't you move the 77-inch that you had? Didn't or
The
what was the
83,
size that
83,
83? Yeah, why
83. It
didn't you
was
move
so
the 83?
big.
Oh, I'm
It
sorry.
was,
I'm
you know,
sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, it was so big that I was no, I was thinking because I thought about that. I was trying to figure. I said maybe I should put it on the wall in the living room or somewhere because I have a 65-inch OLED in my bedroom. That used to be my gaming machine, my gaming thing. But the 83 would be too big here. That's the thing. So I was like, I can't do it there. So
Why
I
would
don't
it be
know
too big? I mean,
because I
because it would
swivel this one
cover
when I
up
want to
your
play Call of
LED
Duty, right?
strip you got going on,
Well,
or
yeah,
or what?
one single
That
strip. You know, it's programmable.
if he
You
moved
know,
his
but
LED strip up a foot, I bet he'd have that
no, no. You know what
bigger
it is?
screen
Because
up there.
I can't swivel it, right? It's so big, and when I play
Oh,
Call of
it
Duty, I'm
the
usually
weight.
sitting there.
Oh, okay, I
You know what I mean?
gotcha.
So that's the
Yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
Yeah.
so it would only
yeah,
be good for my racings, and so I said, nah, I don't
yeah,
want to do that. So I didn't bother.
yeah.
But yeah, so here's one of my steering wheels, and I have a nice little
Yeah.
car collection. You know, I've always loved the cars. You know, so I have a bunch of those. But yeah, this is
So, do you
all my
watch all the
racing
F1
shoes.
races, Fred?
I do absolutely, I do, and
And
I just got to show you guys
sorry
this.
guys, that the footage is a little bit choppy, but we're gonna have to recommend like a Wi-Fi extender for Fred.
Oh, okay. This is my favorite phone ever made, the Kyocera flip phone with the Palm Pilot.
Oh
And
my
as you can
goodness.
see,
Oh my
it's sitting
Yeah,
right
you
God.
over
guys are.
there.
Old
It's right
school.
there.
Oh my
I'll
God.
never let it
Man.
go. And
Dang.
because
Keep
I love
breaking out the
carbon fiber
Nokias
so
on
much,
us.
look,
Uh, oh man.
like I have a carbon fiber mask, right? Because I love carbon fiber. I even got this
Ah,
cigar holder. I
man.
don't smoke
Hey,
cigars
is that in
because
the
I just
right
love the way
room
it looks.
there? Is that in the right
Carbon,
room,
look,
that mask?
I
carbon
knew
Are
you.
you
fiber.
sure
Look
that's
at that.
I knew Paul was gonna go
Playing
there.
cards.
I think you got that in the
So,
wrong
yeah,
room there, Fred.
yeah.
That's
So
Where-
supposed to
I have
go in
some.
another
I have
Hey,
room.
where's the basement entrance? That's what Paul wants to
yeah.
know.
So
That's the
I
dungeon
have some
entrance.
treatment back there. Some base traps on the wall. I got those from GIK also. They're the thick ones, as you can
On
see.
a
I
total
think.
side note, I will
Mm-hmm.
say, as far as like, and I know there's expensive and there's affordable GIK treatment.
Uh-huh.
I have built all my own sound panels, but cost to what you get is if you just get their regular stuff. By the time you have
Again.
tools and the skills and the time to build those, well, they really aren't that expensive. Because I did the math and I was like, man, because I built all my. Now, if you're doing custom work, of course, but if you're doing custom work, you're hiring, someone like Chuck from last week. That's you know, a professional carpenter, and that is in a whole nother level. You're paying a whole lot more money for custom. Um,
Mhm.
and that's what I did. But as far as just like people that just want general sound treatment, that is actually, by the time you do the tools and the time, it's cheaper to buy the friggin' from GIK, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the biggest problem is with GIK? I'm in Georgia, so I'll complain about anything. It doesn't matter that I paid for it. If I have something to say, I'll tell you. I live in Georgia. They're in Atlanta. The shipping for those were so expensive, and I'm right here. I could have, if they had the option to pick them up yourself, I could have done that. But they charge a lot for shipping, even with me being right here in Atlanta, in Georgia, where they are. Which just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
think
but they're
the
good. I
shipping.
like them. I like
Yeah,
them.
the shipping
Yeah,
has
the shipping.
discouraged me a lot. I wanted to
Yeah,
buy them
it's
for
expensive.
mine. I was like, why am I paying this much?
Mm,
Like
I didn't even
it's
know.
almost like the price of 2, 3 panels added. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
nope,
expensive. The
just
shipping
gonna
is
build mine.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, as you
I'm
guys can tell,
even with that. I was like, wow, okay, they're not that expensive as
yeah,
compared
it's the
to.
shipping, Paul. If you look at when
Okay.
you look at them, right, you'll see the panels, and let's say you see like a three-piece panel set, and it's like 100 and something. and then the shipping for those panels is going to be close
It's
to that
like
price.
60%, 80% of the
Oh,
Yeah,
cost of
wow.
it, and you're
yeah.
Okay.
like,
So
Wow.
it kind of
Okay.
sucks. Yeah.
I
yeah.
might have to revisit that whole thought process because I was like, holy crap. Like, because, admittedly, if you're working with any wood or hand, you're doing anything manual and you make one mistake, like I got into resin tables there for a little bit. If you make a mistake, that's like a $300 mistake.
I'm gonna
That that
throw Jonathan
that's why
under the
you're
bus
paying.
here a little bit. I remember Jonathan experiencing his panel making. He,
Oh no! Did he go down
he
that
he
road?
he tried.
I tried. It lasted about
Oh
35
man,
minutes.
I didn't. Sorry, I did not mean to set you up like that, Jonathan. I
No,
wasn't
no,
trying
man,
to.
it's 100%. No, it's. I thought you knew the story. I knew Don did, but yeah, no,
I
I
did
spent like
not even hear this story. I did not know that. That's just
yeah,
like,
no, because like
cause
I priced out GIK and exactly what Froze was saying. Like, first of all, they probably over engineered like what they suggested for the room. And you guys know me, or most of you guys know me well enough to know I'm not one to kind of phase things in. So I was just kind of like, all right, this is going to be what it's going to be. And then I was like, you know what, that's crazy. Like the room that I use for my theater has two very large windows in it, and I blocked those myself, just getting some of the the wool material and putting some black cloth over it. I was like, I can, Don's talking me up. Oh man, it's super easy. You got all the tools, and I'm like, yeah, all right. So I went and bought like wood, and I was like, screw that. Like it's the first one I tried to make. The angles of the corners were so off, and I was just like, yep, nope. I went upstairs and I just ordered the full set from
He
GIK.
sent me pictures
yeah.
of these rickety
Oh,
fence pickets. I was like, "What the
oh
hell's that?"
man. Yeah. The, people
Jonathan,
don't
Yeah,
don't
even
it
feel
like.
bad
was.
though,
I,
because I'm
I
not
was.
handy either, Jonathan.
Yep, I
So
was
don't
building
feel
my
bad.
barcade, and people don't even understand. Like Chuck would appreciate it. Like even hanging like the sound panels, like
Oh yeah, mine
getting
are
them to
hung terribly.
getting them to match up. Like you have to. You don't just level, right? You have to. It's all perspective because nothing's ever perfectly square, right? So
And
Right.
you
guess what
have to.
else? Guess what else, Paul? They don't even put
What's
the,
that?
the little saw hooks that they put on them. They're not even.
Hmm.
They're not all equal. They're in different
Yeah.
places.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yes,
yep.
Oh,
that's
That's
true.
why. That's why you make your own, and they're all the same, and you you,
Yeah,
you
maybe
have
you
to.
make your own. They're all the
Oh,
Maybe
same.
you.
If I made my own, they definitely wouldn't be
Maybe
all the
you
same.
make your own.
As
But
bad as GIK was. I'm
yeah.
looking at two of my GIK panels right
Admittedly,
now. There's
it
about
did
an
take a
inch difference
long
on them.
time. Well, I was
Hey,
like,
tell them, Chuck. The laser is only $45 on Amazon,
the
man.
laser is your
Get you a
yeah,
friend.
laser, man.
yep.
I have the
I have one.
Bosch laser,
I have
but it
one.
will
All
still
that
come
I
out.
have
stuff
one.
adds up, and it does, and that's it's a good time though, as long as if you're
Yeah.
and that's fun. Sometimes you can afford to go down that road and then realize it's like, oh, that's why they charge this much a panel because
Here, I don't know if you can see it or not, but like,
Let
Highlight
me.
highlight him real quick.
yeah.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
there's like this is just me hanging it. Look at the differential there. Like,
Oh wow, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. That people don't think about that. That's why whenever I was showing my barcade and a little bit of what I did, I was like, I know uh, Chuck's gonna be the only one that appreciates what I've done so far because he understands the complexity of, oh, just doing this straight relative is a thing, like a difficult thing. And that I just hung my sound panels, and I had a laser level. I was like measuring from, okay, do I want to do this from the roof, or do I want to do this from the floor? Because even your roof and floor might be like this, right? And you have to decide, okay, is this perspectively, do you want it to match the roof line or do you want it to match the floor line? And that's where it
Right.
really gets difficult.
Exactly.
Where,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah, because you
why
want it to be
there's
square to the room,
professionals.
not to your measurements or level to
Yeah,
the room.
exactly.
That is true.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because
Same thing like
it's
when you're hanging curtains, and you know what I mean. When you hang curtains, and you got to be very careful when the wall's not exactly straight at the
I want to
ceiling.
know about like how level did you have to get this friggin' racing rig, dude? And now,
Oh
honestly,
no,
I will
my.
say I have a rig like this in my basement,
Mhm.
but it doesn't have a steering wheel on it.
Yeah, if you can see my
It's
background,
got a lot of the
I have my
actuators
yeah.
on it.
In the
it
background,
has
I have
it
my
has
wheels
a
back
ball
there.
gag with it too,
And
right?
it's not meant for driving.
Yeah. I don't know about the steering wheel, but it's got a lot of actuators on there. Anyways, explain your
One,
chair you got, Fred.
Yeah, because
my
I need
my.
a chair for my own rig because I have the wheel if you
Oh,
can see
that's a
right
car
behind.
seat that I got from eBay. I'm off of eBay. That's an actual car seat.
Oh,
If you look, it has, yeah, look, this is a real car seat. If you look, I have
yeah.
that's the adjustment. Yeah, that's a car
Oh
seat. And you
wow.
just, because with this aluminum profile, you can do anything. You see, I made a carbon fiber dead pedal. You can mount anything to it, anything. That's why I have these cup holders, because you can make anything you want. A lot of the pieces that you see on here, all it
You
is
got a
just
cup
pieces of.
holder in your
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I got a
VR.
thermos, and then
Oh, that's
here's my water.
awesome.
Because when I get,
I love it.
yeah, when I
I
get,
love it.
yeah. So but you definitely can do anything with aluminum profile. You can make any shape, any form. This, I mean, anything you want. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just there's
That
nothing
is a
that I'm telling you.
fantastic setup, Fred. I'm very envious of that setup. I have a spare bedroom, and you've got me contemplating now.
Oh, you would
Yeah.
love
Oh
it. You would
boy,
love it. You would
here we
love this. I
go.
Oh,
usually
finish the theater first,
Here
John.
we
Ah,
go. You got to
you
finish
know
that
what? You
room
know what's
first,
gonna
man.
happen?
Finish the
Don's gonna
theater,
get
man.
Don's gonna
Don,
get
look.
$100,000 steering wheel
Yeah,
sitting in the middle of a room
coming
that ain't got
2028.
nothing else going on.
Hey, coming soon, 2028, room 2.
Yeah,
You got to finish
he's
the
gonna be
first one, man.
selling. He's gonna be selling products to Fred before he even
Uh,
gets his room. Like, well, I've never even actually played VR racing, but look at this amazing, kaleidoscope that I
$50,000
have.
set I got.
I'm just gonna sit in it and watch TV. That's all.
Nah,
On your
we got to finish.
iPhone.
We got to
You're gonna
finish the
you're
theater
gonna sit in
first.
there on your phone
Yeah,
and be like,
yeah.
yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
so yeah, that's it. That's it in my theater. Like I said, I just have this, and then one last thing I have is a bath. I actually have a bathroom.
Oh, that show us the
Oh, that's
okay.
nice to have that downstairs.
Yeah,
Actually, that's
yeah, I have a
very
bathroom in
nice.
there, so that's cool. So
Yeah, because
I'm
I
gonna
was
get
thinking
off,
about
and I'm.
that, but the
Mhm.
bathroom is so far away from my theater. It's on the same floor, but it's so far away. You know,
Yeah.
that it's all the way on the opposite side of the house. So that's great to have that right there, Fred. I really appreciate you sharing. You know what your journey
Wait, wait, wait,
through
wait,
through
wait, wait,
theater.
wait, wait.
You
Go
know your
back to the
home
right.
theater
Go
with us.
back to the
Go back to
right.
the right.
A
Look at
little,
all the
little bit
VR sets,
down.
man.
Yeah, the blue VR. The you have that one that you're looking at, and then you have the blue one. You have two of the same.
Well,
The
they're the same make, but
VR.
this one was an 8K unit, and that other one was a 5. This was an 8K unit right here, and this one is a 5K unit. But my current
Oh,
baby
okay.
that I use now is this one, same manufacturer, Pimax.
Oh, okay. That's what I
Yeah.
was wondering. I was like, wait, what? Aren't those the same thing? You just bought one in blue? Okay, all right.
No.
I was like,
That's all
I
my
like the blue one. I'm gonna
controls on
get
the
that one.
wall.
Look
Well,
at
Fred,
that.
we definitely appreciate you sharing
I
everything.
appreciate
You know,
being here,
today.
guys.
You know,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed looking at your theater and the progress that you've made over the what's it past couple years that you've thank you for sharing this journey with us. As I mentioned,
Absolutely.
we got a banger for you today. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into Jonathan's theater. So we got two theater tours that we're going to be doing. So we're just going to Jonathan's out in his theater, which is actually separate from his home. as he mentioned, he has like a barn shed that's separate than his home. So like if you wouldn't mind keying in on Jonathan there.
Yeah, let me do that. Let's see. I got to be able to get to that. There you
There we
go.
go.
So yeah, so it's like the room itself is square. It's pretty small. There was nothing in it. This is kind of where I started with our earlier conversation as far as the 2-channel stuff. So that's the Macintosh that runs my front, left, and right in pass through. But if I'm listening to 2-channel, that's well, obviously that's the same as 2-channel. With I got an Auralix streamer beneath it. My 8-track because I like both high def and low def, and the stereo, the turntable, and then the matching Macintosh SACD player. But then going into the rack, you got the Trinov that Don gives me a hard time about. Um,
Do
two
not
more
give you a hard
Macintosh.
time. There may be one coming eventually.
Oh,
Two
okay. That's breaking news.
two more Macintosh amps there. The Kaleidoscape, the Strato C, and I think it's an 18 terabyte. The Sony Blu-ray player, some networking gear, the Kaleidoscape that I bought, the Alto, so I could rip things that now you no longer need. Thanks, Kaleidoscape. The the Zapiti, the PS5, and then up top is the projector hung from the ceiling. So that's the rack setup. As far as the rest of the
What
theater,
projector did you go with?
the NZ8 from
Oh,
JVC.
okay. Yeah, that's a nice one.
And then I got all my surrounds and heights are these Focal domes. So I get bed layer is what do I get? So it's a 726 setup. Is that right? Yeah. So the Focal Sopras are the fronts. I forget which model it is. It's a acoustically transparent screen, so I have an in-wall center channel Focal behind it. And then
That's a Seymour, I believe. Seymour
yeah,
XD, right?
yep.
Or a Niter, one of
Um,
those two.
and then the same Focals up top. Um, I kind of did a hybrid setup, so some rear heights, rears, and then there's one Focal in the ceiling there.
Voice of
I
God.
did yeah, because I did get kind of blend of a
Oro
the
3
Oro
and
setup.
Dolby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, like the Trinov team has like a layout that they say gets you kind of the benefits of both. And then, like I said, I did a lot of treatment with GIK, so I got, the floor to ceiling traps in the corners, um, panels on the wall, 3 hung panels. These are actually kind of like glass doors that go into the room. So I paneled those obviously to
Okay, yeah,
get
that's
rid of any
nice.
bounce there, and then some more traps in the back and diffusers. Um, the seats again very similar to what Fred was showing, but I do have the bass kickers in them, and yeah, and then let me see, turn this down. So and then
Now, are you
turn the
running a
lights off.
control system or anything like that,
Yeah,
Jonathan?
yeah, I use Control 4. And then
Okay.
2 JL Audio 12-inch fathoms for the subs, which are in the front. And then,
Okay.
so this is kind of the view from, I use Apple TV for a lot of stuff. If I'm not using the Kaleidoscape, and the Zedo, like, right, I do have a Zedo in the house, and I was talking with Don about this. That pointing it to the same NAS, I have a bunch of things that I'm getting errors on and aren't playing correctly that still play fine on the Zapedi pointed to the same NAS. So I'm trying to figure that stuff out. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the theater.
Now
And
we're
you
going
have the
to need
masking
it.
also, right?
Sorry, Don.
You have the masking on that screen also, correct?
Yeah. Hang on. Like the masking isn't set up through Control 4 yet. That's something I got to get working on with my integrator. And then, oh, here it is. I was like, so now I have like these little random remotes around here that I have to find and grab. But I think there that should be showing.
Oh yeah, we can see that coming down. Yes.
Yep. I don't. I just got through talking to Fred about the masking because when I went to Tons, he had the manual masking, and I was like, man, it really does make a difference. That until you see it, it's hard to explain. It's a psychological thing,
Yeah.
and maybe not even necessarily psychological. You have all this, the gray bars. That's still light projecting from the projector.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if you mask it and it doesn't reflect back to your eyes, it really enhances or makes what is on the screen pop out. But for me and a lot of other people that are, put myself into this club, the 16:9 club, for sports and YouTube and other things that I'd like to watch on the 16:9 screen. Which, total off topic, I wonder if there's a 4:3 club that only does that. Anyways,
Oh wow.
go on. I love the Matt. You were one of the first persons to
Yeah, they
show
all have
me.
Sony Trintrons.
Yeah, exactly. You were one of the first persons to show, like, oh, check this out, and I was like, oh, that is cool. That is amazing. I like that. I like
Well,
the auto masking.
what's cool is, and it's not there yet, and I got to work with the integrator to program everything how I want it. But what's nice is with this setup between the screen, the Kaleidoscape, and the JVC, the Kaleidoscape can feed the JVC and the
Yep.
screen the information it needs, so I don't just play whatever I want to play, and the projector will adjust, the screen will self mask, and you're off to the races,
Yeah,
which I think
and
would be really cool.
beyond just masking, right? Because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, I can just put up the panels." There's different formats. Like
Right.
Mhm.
there's, and I don't, it may have to go 8 inches up. It may have to go 6 inches up, and I only said that for a euphemism.
I was trying not to go there.
Yeah, I was also
And
just like,
that's
okay.
what's nice about those type of higher end devices is like they have the ability to say, hey, we need to mask at this point versus this point, and it automatically does that. And admittedly, for those super techie people, yeah, you can do that manually. If you code all day every day, yeah, that's like a couple hours for you. But Jonathan's not a coder. He doesn't code. He
That could
and
be
I
the
know this
understatement of
for
the
a
century.
fact. you know. So I like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I said,
You
it's
need
all
to get
about use case, right?
Kaleidoscape.
It's all
Yeah,
about use
Absolutely, it's all
case,
about
exactly.
right?
use case.
So I
Mhm.
mean, I have the Zapedi. I've ripped probably 18, almost 1900 movies now. Honestly, it's only a couple clicks, but it's more or less the inconvenience for me at this point to where I gotta come into the room. I gotta load the disc. I gotta set the disc. Compared to for me with the Kaleidoscape, I can be sitting at work and say, "Hey, I want to watch a movie," and I literally just go onto the app and I press the button and it's downloaded to my Kaleidoscape, and I come in and I sit down and I watch it. Um, and before it was like a 30 to 45 minute download, but now with the new technology, with the new servers they have, I mean, you can get a movie, an HDR movie, in almost like 4 minutes now. If you
Mm.
got a 2.5 gig connection.
Oh, they
Um,
upgraded. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Finally. I was like,
yeah,
okay, so they're finally to my normal speeds.
right. Well,
No,
I
that's
mean, think
cool.
about it. I can't even rip a movie in that amount of
No.
time. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
care
and
what
that's the
you
No,
know.
thing.
no, you can't. You
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, it takes about.
And
I just ripped a whole bunch that I got over the weekend, and each one took over way over an hour. Most of them were like an hour and 30 minutes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that just depends
well,
on the right speed of the drive that you have, and your
Mm-hmm.
how if you're connecting it USB or you're connecting it internally. There's a lot of variables going on with that. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's just the convenience of being able to press that button and having it. I still rip. I still buy movies. I mentioned that Chris made me from my home theater. He made me go out and buy the Equalizer 3 disc set because it has the IMAX enhanced on it.
Oh,
Right.
really?
So
Ooh.
yeah, so I went out and I bought that, and of course I ripped all three of those. And so I still rip, but if I want to watch a movie, if I'm purchasing something new, for the most part, and it's not like on discount through Amazon or a super Black Friday deal or something like that, I just purchase it on the Kaleidoscape. Yes, I plan on running both systems as a PD and the Kaleidoscape, and I even have a Panasonic UB9000 that's gonna collect dust. But it looks good in the rack. It's metal. It's got the nice brushed aluminum and all that stuff. So, who knows? I may wind up making room in the rack because I have to put the watt box in there that I've recently purchased for my backup power. But like I said though, it's all about use case. It's all about what you're going to use it for. If you have the time to sit there and rip these movies, and Fred can attest because he and I talked to this the other day that hey, even when I first started this, and I'm okay at tech. I'm not the biggest techie guy, but it can be overwhelming at first, right? You got to know what
Mm-hmm.
to do. You have to go through the process. But once you've done it 10, 15 times, it's just a couple clicks, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
a couple clicks, getting it set up, open
Man.
up the
And,
application.
and even me, that, and I'm all for that self backup scenario.
Hmm.
It's not that easy. Sure, if it works, it's easy. But if you run
Mm-hmm.
into a complication, that's
yeah,
when
Hmm.
you need, the Ikes and the Crozens of the world. That's like, oh, I'm going to figure this out. What the
Yeah.
hell's going on? Why
I
is
mean,
this
I've
not
copied
working?
3 discs. I've copied 3 discs over the past couple days, and two of them had the harsh table error that they didn't check out all the way through Make MKV. So then I have to go and burn it ISO
Hmm.
through the other program. What's the other program that I
Make
use? I can't think.
DVD Fab,
Yeah,
not
DVD
DVD.
Fab. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so if they don't copy correctly, then you're recopying them all over. Now you're looking at 90 minutes
Yeah,
versus
yeah, and that
45
is that's
minutes.
a pain. That is a pain in the ass. The only reason I started doing it digital is because I got to the point where I had so many movies, and someone, and Fred may relate to this. Someone was like, "Oh, I want to watch this movie," and I was like, "Oh, I got
Mm-hmm.
this movie." I couldn't find that movie. I was like, "Ah, god damn it!" I
Yep.
was like, I know I have that movie, but it was like 5 boxes deep apparently, and yeah, well, that was a lost opportunity at that point.
Yep.
So
Let's put
Jonathan,
it
you
this
kind
way:
of you
I
kind
was
of touched
digital
on
from then on out.
you kind of touched on earlier what got you into this hobby. You started off with the two channel,
Yeah.
and then slowly migrated towards the home theater. But what about the location that you got your theater? Explain a little bit about that. While you were getting set up, I explained to kind of let them know that it was, separate to your house. But if you can explain, like, where you got the theater set up and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the house I bought, the guy who built the house originally, I'm the third owner. He built it in the 80s. He had a limo service. So he didn't have, when he built the house, he didn't put a garage in the house, but he had like kind of a car barn where it could fit two SUVs in his car in the first floor with a little room. And then upstairs was his office. So the upstairs here I redid when I bought the house. It was like a kind of a hangout party area for the teenagers of the family I bought the house from. So I fixed it up pretty nicely. The main room is like half of a home gym, and the other half is like a music room with like a drum kit and guitar set up and stuff. Eventually, my plan is to put there's a giant walk-in closet that I've already dry plumbed to be a bathroom because honestly, the theater doesn't get used nearly as much as it should because my wife doesn't want to come out here and not be able to go to the bathroom if she has to.
Mhm.
So once I get that set up, I think we'll use it more. I use it, but not, I give Don a hard time for not finishing building his theater, and mine's built and I don't use it. So I think that's even worse. Um, but going back to something else, Don, that you were just talking about, like as far as use case, and I've had kind of a journey. It's not all about home theater, but it is about stuff that we all kind of talk about, whether people use it or not. You were asking about my control system, and I use Control 4. I used to be Savant, and I converted over because I was not happy with kind of the direction Savant had gone. But the main house has distributed audio and used to have distributed video all over it that I had put in, and I kind of started getting away from that, uh, mainly the video, and liked having it locally, just because you're running balance, you're doing, and you keep having to upgrade them as new technology comes out, and you upgrade your TV. Well, now the signal's not getting passed the way you want, and so as much as I should be out here more than I am, like my bedroom setup is rad, and don't go someplace dirty with that, Paul. It's I because like I told you, instead of I started out here in the theater with an OLED, kind of like what Fred was talking about, and I just bought it. It was a 77-inch A90J, um, and I was like, well, I got to do something with this, so let's put a 77-inch OLED in the bedroom, and the audio for that room was just two in-ceiling speakers from distributed audio, and you know the
Oh,
problem
so
is
the
being
the
friends with
screen,
these
the
guys.
77-inch OLED wasn't on the ceiling; it was on the wall. It,
No, it's the
in the
85 is on the
bedroom.
ceiling. The
Oh,
85 is on the
okay,
ceiling.
okay.
Yeah,
You gotta go
People
big.
people like
Okay,
putting
okay.
mirrors on the ceilings. I just like having a mini camera plugged in directly to an OLED, and but so
That works.
uh but no, like so again, like with the rabbit hole, it's like you sit there and you see something cool that comes out, and everyone's reviewing it, and we're talking about it, whether it's on the Daily Hi-Fi or the wrap up show, and at the time, and Paul, you'll remember this because we talked about it a bunch, was the Sony HTA9 setup
Hmm.
with the four speakers plus the sub, and the speakers are great, but it's really supposedly they're mapping. There's like five microphones in each speaker, so it's supposed to. And I was like, you know what? Let me try these things out. And so I bought a set with the larger subwoofer. The TV can be used as the center channel, which I did. And so, like, if I didn't have this home theater like that, I feel like that's a better sounding and looking setup than I've had anywhere else except for this theater. Um,
Right.
we use that, and that gets way more use
Yep.
than this does.
Yep. And
Yeah, I
that,
remember you telling me that you were on that. What was it? You were going through the maybe the Marvel movies.
Yeah. My
You
wife
were
and I were
going
going
through
through
that.
like in not release order, but Marvel Universe chronological order, and we were doing that in the bedroom.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
yeah. And I've had that exact same experience where the reason there's two reasons to build a theater, right? It's like if you want multiple people to experience a good movie or theatrical production, right? It doesn't have to be, the perfect, it doesn't have to meet even your local theater,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And that's what I usually use as my reference, right? It's like people like, oh, well, you don't know audio. You don't. I go to the theater. This is $1 million system. I'm comparing my system to a 300 seat, and admittedly, once you get down that road, oh well, yeah, that's just to try to entertain 300-400 people. You can get way better when you're trying to just do yourself or 3 or 4 people. And once you get to that, it's like where do you draw the line as far as like experience versus, you know am I really using that? Back to my original comment, I have many hobbies. I want to experience many of them, but which ones do I choose? Because I really am into audio and home theater, but at the same time, and it's like, well, I don't want to spend $500,000 on my home theater. I'll never do that. I'll tell you that right now. Uh, with the exclusion of, if tomorrow I am worth like $50 trillion, then yeah, $500,000 on a home theater, I'll be like,
Right.
whatever, I'll spit that out. But that's the thing. It's like you can get an experience, it and that's what's audio is so complex and so much engineering into it that people don't realize. It's like headphones is your anechoic chamber, and people just dismiss that. They don't like the way that sounds because the reason they don't like the way that sounds is because psychoacoustically you can't separate yourself from the room you're in. But in
Right.
reality, headphones is the
Do that.
exact reproduction, but you're like, oh, it doesn't sound right. Well, yeah, because you're in a room and you're thinking it should sound like you're in the
Should
room you're
reverberate. Yep.
in.
Hmm.
And that's where it gets so complex and and admittedly fun. You can discuss, cuss, and argue and have fun and be embarrassed. Like, oh yeah, okay, I was wrong about that. But it's a great hobby because there's so much more that we haven't delved into, even engineering wise, because
Oh yeah.
it's not a thing that um, there's certain sound, like I won't go into it too much, but there's you'll have to look up the perfect sound, which and I am like paraphrasing and summarizing this into 1,000, like I'm butchering this like 1,000 times. The perfect note or the perfect sound, right? What that ended up being is essentially the sound or a radiation, if you would, that destroys cancer. Like that's how amazing sound is. And people don't even know that. You'll have to look up like the perfect note, and there's a
I
paper
have
back it the
Is that that's not
way.
the brown note, right?
No,
not the
yeah.
legendary Brown. No.
That's what people equate to it nowadays. But no, this is legitimately like,
Yeah, I did.
No,
I read that, Paul. I was watching. Actually, I was watching a video on that too.
oh, okay. So
So they
you,
did.
Fred,
Yeah.
see, that's Fred. See,
Hmm.
that's what I'm saying, man.
Well, I'm a geek though. I'm a geek for this.
Okay, yeah, a
Because the
fellow geek.
interesting thing.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. The interesting thing with me is like I don't have television, conventional television. Like I mostly watch YouTube, and the things that I watch on YouTube, I think the average person would just be like, dude, you got to be kidding,
Oh yeah, my
because
girlfriend.
right,
She looks when I'm
yeah,
watching YouTube. She's just like, this is so
yeah.
like,
I'm
what are
watching
you
how they
doing?
make
I'm like, I'm
silicon wafers,
learning. I'm learning.
Yeah,
I may never
I saw one
use
today.
what I'm learning, but I'm learning.
yep.
Yeah, I was watching something today. They were talking about silicon wafers, and the new, how many were on this wafer, how many actual CPUs were on this wafer, and that's the kind of stuff that just it intrigues me, right? I love
Mhm.
that technical stuff. I don't necessarily want to do technical stuff all the time, but I love the information, right? I just love
Yep.
that. So
And I'll have to look that up, but basically it is like the perfect note that they were
yeah, I
looking
thought
up,
it
and
was yeah, I forget what it was.
it's
I knew that because
literally
I
it
watched it.
basically, and I'm paraphrasing here. It's basically what they use to do with chemotherapy and stuff like that to cure cancer, and
Yep.
Oh
it's
wow.
audible sound. Yeah, it
Yeah.
sound, e- and that's where it's like we think of it as just an experience and having a good time, and we're having a good time with it, but it is an amazing phenomenon and an experience and a way to everybody says a picture's worth 1,000 words, but a sound's you know just as valuable. It's
Yep.
like, hey, you say something, you hear something, you, you experience a lot more than silence, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. And if you just think of it this way, sound is what kept human beings alive for years, right? I mean, without, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it, so
Yep, pretty sure.
So,
sound
Fred,
for
are
sure.
you looking at any upgrades anytime? Is there anything you feel
No,
like you're missing out
no,
in the
I
home
think
theater?
it wasn't
no,
you. Weren't you looking at the Kaleidoscape?
no,
Thinking
no,
about
no.
that.
No,
Oh,
I wasn't. I had a comment about the kaleidoscape. I wasn't actually looking for one. The thing is, I said to Don, I said, I understand why people want a kaleidoscape. I do, because there are people that are very busy and they don't have time. And even if you're a technical person and you don't have time, or you're not a technical person but you don't have time, Don runs businesses, so I know he's busy, right? Whereas me, I'm a leisurely guy, right? I have a 9 to 5, and then I have my time to do what I want with. So, it's like one of those things where I have the time. So I wouldn't get the kaleidoscape just because I can come downstairs and grab a bunch of movies and burn them. You know what I mean? I just got all of these just over the weekend. You know what I mean? So all these
oh,
movies
you
I
got all
got,
the
Oh
right?
nice.
Shreks.
Yeah, I got the James
Isn't there a
Bond
new?
5 disc,
There's a new one
right?
coming out. All right,
A new
Got
what?
the guitar
a new
running
A
Shrek.
song
new
off in the back
yeah, new
there.
There's a
Shrek.
new
Yeah, Shrek
Shrek
4.
coming out. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm saying. So that's the difference. Like you have to understand, what people's lifestyles are, what their use case is, and so on and so forth. And for me, I have free time. You know what I mean? So for me to come downstairs, and my gaming and everything that I do centers in this little cave, right? So when it's nothing for me to come downstairs, put a movie into the disc, take my disc out
Yep.
of the Sabidi, walk over, plug it in, and just start, the transfers up, and walk away, or do something else, race or play some video games, do
Yeah, look, I
something,
mean,
listen to some
what
music.
what what's important to you, you will make time for. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
if it's important to you, you'll make the necessary time to do what you need to do. And as I mentioned before, it is just a couple clicks now, and you don't have to hover over top of it. So
Hmm.
it's it's just a couple clicks, and
I,
then
I, I want to see. I want to see those blue lights on Jonathan's Marantz again. Those that was pretty. I
On
like
my what?
those. Oh,
On
you're
his
a
Not on the
Marantz.
Macintosh.
Marantz,
You
on the
said
I don't
Marantz.
have a
Macintosh.
That's a
Marantz.
A
downgrade,
Macintosh.
Paul. His
Oh,
Macintosh.
I know, man.
Oh, the Macintosh. Yeah, the blue lights. Well, but to you guys' point, like what Fred was just saying, and I told you guys about like the setup in the bedroom. Well, the fact is that like I use mainly Apple TV in there, but I did buy another Kaleidoscape Strato C and hooked that up to the bedroom TV.
Oh, that
And,
Strato
and so that's
C. Even when they announced that, I was like, oh, that's an amazing part of their product line. Like as far
yeah
as what it does.
yeah, and the fact that you can like the problem. I do like Kaleidoscape a lot, but it has its limitations to me. One of the limitations that everybody knows about it really is, I mean, it's not a limitation; it's just the expense of the hard drive space. I mean, it's really kind of outrageous.
But
Um,
Right.
but
what I had learned, me personally, is you can, as excluding the hard drive space is literally, and me arguing this point is like opposite of what people would think. Um, what I learned is that the hard drive space is what you have access immediately to. You still have
correct.
all of your library access. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand that. It's not that, oh, I only have, you know, let's just say, like me, I have like whatever, 70 terabytes of movies, but I only have a device that has 20. Well, I don't need to
You
necessarily
don't have to have it all
buy it.
locally.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
have to
Yeah.
have it all local. You can keep it all remote. It's just, hey, whatever you're gonna watch and whatever's
Well,
most
it
popular.
And with the new servers, I mean,
that's what I
you're
was going to
talking
say. Yeah.
about you're talking about using
Yeah,
the bathroom
5 minutes, man.
and downloading, and you're
It
there.
takes longer to make popcorn, to be honest.
Yep.
If you're making
Yeah.
popcorn and you're, say commercials, you could literally, if you have a, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just doing this on the experience that I can do. I don't do, but I can do. You can do hey, here's a 10-minute trailer intro of new movies, what's latest, etc. on your product, whether it's your own or Kaleidoscape. And by that time, if you got 2.5 gig and you're doing that, you can download and that movie's ready to play.
Yep.
You're making popcorn in that time, and then as soon as
No,
the movie
absolutely.
starts, you're
But
you're
Paul,
dimming the
one of
lights.
the arguments that people have uh, is that they want control over the media that they own.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's different with Kaleidoscape versus, for example, Apple TV, is it's not a
Yeah.
license. You actually are buying it. So then the question is, you have a situation like what happened with Zapiti. Okay, so because you've been on those forums with me when people are like, well, what
Mm-hmm.
happens if Kaleidoscape fails and you've bought all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You bought all these movies. So if you have them all locally, that's a non-issue. But if
Yeah.
they shut down their servers one day, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
Yeah, because
agree with you.
Sony, I
I
think,
I I,
I think
I will
Sony recently did that on the PlayStation, right? Where,
I will argue the point pro Kaleidoscape in this scenario. Just and everyone knows I'm not a Kaleidoscape user. Kaleidoscape, a part of the reason that they are expensive is because of the licensing and what they're
Right.
purchasing
Right.
versus someone like Zapiti. They weren't actually purchasing the licenses. And you can do Disney. I'll bring up Disney with PlayStation, and Disney pulled all their titles
Yep.
from the PlayStation. So no matter what you bought, if it was
it's
on the
gone.
PlayStation, you lost all of it.
Yep.
It's gone. You get
Yep.
$0. There's always that, you know,
Hey, I mean, look,
possibility.
we've gone
But
through it, you know,
but
from
Kaleidoscape is is I feel like they are going about it in a way that all the companies are, all in agreement with, and that's what's
Well, and
because
they've already shown that they can adapt because their original business model was pre-streaming and pre-download. You know,
right.
Yep,
it was the disc
yep,
carousels.
yep, yep,
You know, and
yep.
so it was just literally having a way to catalog your physical copies. And they took. So I agree with you. Like I don't. I'm not concerned about that. And you know, going back to use case, like you know, you and Don both know. You know, I have a house I'm almost done building down in the Caribbean, and it's to me it's less about the like I'm not gonna have a super high def theater down there. I have a decent. I mean, I think I have a. I forget if I ordered a TCL or a
Dude,
Hisense.
if you're watching theater down there, you're doing something wrong. That's all I
Well,
gotta
no, I'm just saying like
say.
the idea is that like the 18 terabyte hard drive is small enough, or if I got a smaller one, you bring it home with you, and before we go down on the next trip, you load up because if you're going to be down there 3 or 4 weeks, you know you may want to
Yep.
watch. Maybe you're going to download the new ones that you haven't
And that's
watched
the
or that
same
you
thing.
didn't
That's the
favor.
same thing with Kaleidoscape, right?
Well, that's
That
what I'm
was
saying.
my
That's what I'm
point. It
doing with
was like
Kaleidoscape.
what's popular is what people want to watch, right? And that's like the so you don't have to have, you know 80 terabytes of your movies. You only really need 20 terabytes of
Right.
your movies. That's the most popular, readily available. And that
Right.
I
Yeah,
didn't
and
know about Kaleidoscape when I first learned about it. So I
the
was
way
like,
that I
oh,
have
well,
mine
that's
set up,
cool.
it's mainly set up for newer movies and demo material because I want to be able to do the scripts and stuff like that, right? So
Yep.
that's mainly what I have downloaded. Now I have like for my son
I
Frosty
want to
and
be able to hit
Rudolph
play and hear
and everything like
brown
that.
cow back in the background and the curtains draw.
Yeah,
I
and we
want the
talk
whole
about
mood to be set.
we talk about the Kaleidoscape going out of business and I don't want to go on the whole. I know we've already started on the Kaleidoscape ramp, but um, the way I look at that is I'm just going to summarize it as this is the fact that we went from VHS to laser disc to DVD to Blu-ray, now to 4K, now to streaming and on Apple TV or Vudu or wherever else. And then whatever new service is going to come out, right? So we've already bought these movies several times. So, you know, that's just the way that I look at it. So if I have to purchase the movies again due to a new format or a better quality picture that I may be chasing, or a better sound that I may be chasing, then that's on me, right? Yes, I'll still have my physical media that, the movies that I have in my possession, unless I sell them. But, until that new format comes out, this is going to serve its purpose. And that's just how I view it, just because we've already had so many variations of the same movie on different types of platforms. So that's just my take on it. I know people say, "Hey, what happens if it goes out of business or whatever?" You know, if I can get 4 or 5 years out of an investment in this type of industry,
Yeah,
I'm happy with it. You know,
yeah,
Yeah,
Well, and
so I
and
don't.
to
Don,
your
that's
point, Don.
that's a. Mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say Kaleidoscape's also shown because I'm sure you're the same as me, Don. Every week, if you go onto your account, you know, number one, you do have the upgrade thing. So if you have a physical copy of the disc, you're not paying full retail price to get it
Correct.
on Kaleidoscape. And then as like I've had movies that I uploaded it in. I already had it. It was cheap because it was DVD quality. It wasn't something that, or maybe it was Blu-ray, but it wasn't a 4K disc that I had or was even available for that movie when it came out. All of a sudden, every week there's 20 or 30 items in my catalog that they're like, hey, if you want to pay a couple bucks, you can upgrade this. There's now a 4K version available through Kaleidoscape that may not even be available. So,
Now that
do,
alone is amazing because,
yeah,
and I'll just play devil's advocate here. I could have like 1,000 DVDs, like let's say Flash Gordon, and I'm a nerd, but when I went to one of the M-Wave shows and they had Flash Gordon the 4K playing on, I was like, whoa, what the hell's going on? That's amazing. And it was so cheesy too. You could tell like all the costumes. But as an artist as well, I'm an engineer, but I was going to be an artist when that was my goal, but I wasn't good enough, I guess, or not patient enough. But when I saw some of the outfits and the art and everything that they were doing in 4K, and how I was like, wow, that's amazing. And Flash Gordon and the 4K, I was like, oh man, I got to upgrade to that. That looks freaking amazing. I've never seen, because when I first watched Flash Gordon, it was like a 32-inch TV was like that was the big screen, unless you went to the movie. Obviously, you went to the drive-in back then, but at home you were watching on if you were rich, you were watching on a 32-inch. So I went to my neighbor's house or friends.
I had that 36-inch Sony Trinitron. Remember that one?
I know,
Yeah, I had that.
I know
Yeah.
you did. I know you did.
It weighed 237 pounds.
But that's amazing that you can upgrade from like
well, and here's a
what you
similar
have
point, Paul,
to the newer format because if I had to go buy the new Flash Gordon, I have the Flash Gordon DVD I bought 50 years ago for whatever, $5. Now I gotta pay friggin' $30 for it, and you're
Right.
saying you gotta just pay a couple bucks to upgrade. I'm like, oh shit, that's amazing.
And I think everyone kind of has their own opinions and whatever, but I think there's a difference between companies that are a premium company, solely because of name, and you don't necessarily get the actual product that's worth it. And then you have premium companies that I've experienced. I've experienced both. Some that are just grabbing the cash, and then other ones like another one, Trinov. I mean, I have the Altitude 16, but how many companies? I think, Don, what was it, like 2 months after I bought it that they did the upgrade that gave you 4 more
Right.
channels
I
For
will
free.
say this. I will say
for
this
free?
on the Trinov, Ton, which we're both like really smart engineers, and we looked at doing our own 18 32 channel implementation, and by the time you buy the licensing, it's Trinov actually makes sense. Like
There's value
a
there. It's
lot
not
of
inexpensive, but you get
sense.
yeah.
It's like,
But
because I'm big
So I
into
just want to
like
share
Meyer
the
sound and
the
stuff
movie
like
store
that.
real quick
Oh, go ahead.
for Kaleidoscape,
Oh,
just to
okay.
show you.
Let me do that.
But I was just saying, like, yeah, the Trinov actually, for what it provides and what it does, and the channels and the features that it does, if you were to just do that manually, and by the time you buy the licensing it's not that expensive. It's not cheap, but you're getting into a realm
you're getting
where,
value.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So like Jonathan was saying, there's an update. As you can see here, I logged into the computer. It says view movie updates. me click on that and see what it says. So, now there's an update for the minions that I have, right? So I go in here and I can download that, and it's not it's some of them upgrades are free of charge and some of them aren't, but it's usually only a couple of dollars to do it. There is a disc to digital program that when let me go back to the store here. When you do the disc to digital program, it'll pop up that same message, the disc program. I forgot how to access that, but I have some of them in my let's see, digital offers. Let's see if that's it. Yeah, so I don't recall how to get to it, but the when I plug the disc into the same kind of drive that I rip with, but I plug that disc USB into the back of the Kaleidoscape. It will catalog it for me, and then it will give me that same message down the bottom that you have disc to digitals, and then it will give me the option to buy the movie for like $3 $4 or whatever it is. Um, they do have all kind of collections and everything else, collection prices, so that you can get specials on. Let's just go to the Fast and Furious. So you can get all 10 movies for $109, right? Um, you think about that. That's basically $10 a movie. You know, there are a lot of pros to going with the Kaleidoscape. You know, it's it really is a fantastic device. I really do enjoy owning it, and that's somebody that has, like I said, all three. I have the physical media. I have a Zapiti that I've ripped to, and I also have the Kaleidoscape. So out of everything in my rack, I'm talking about everything. I've not had one problem with the Kaleidoscape. I've never had to go and unplug the HDMI cable or reset it, just like I had to for the Apple TV or for the Zapiti wouldn't load up or anything like that. So I've never had to power cycle the thing. It's just
Mm.
rock solid. That's all I can say about it. I believe when I purchased it, they told me the hard disk fail rate is like less than 1% or 1%, something like that for the certain type of hard drives that they use in these things. And the good thing about it, if you do find one that's on the used market, they can actually tell you if something's wrong with your hard drive. So they can kind of monitor it on the back end and say, hey, there's something wrong with the hard drive. Or if you call them up and say, I got serial number XYZ that I'm looking to purchase from this gentleman. Can you tell me a little bit about it? They will actually tell you, hey, this one hasn't had any issues. Hard drives are working great. So they can analyze the system for you while it's online. So, uh, you
Mm.
know, and customer service is fantastic too. So, um, I know we didn't mean to go down the Kaleidoscape rabbit hole, but it is a piece of equipment that I am passionate about. I really enjoy it, and as Fred, as you mentioned, I am busy, but we can tend to make time for what we want to make time for, right? And actually, I could sit down and rip a disc if I want to, but I just like the convenience of it. That's the
Mhm.
biggest thing. I just enjoy the convenience of me browsing that movie store while I'm at lunch on work and saying, you know what? All the James Cameron movies just came out. I'm going to purchase all those, and I have them, right? So I just purchased all the James Cameron. The I don't know if you guys saw or not, but the Taylor Swift tour that was in all the
Mhm.
theaters. You can rent that right now on Kaleidoscape.
Okay.
So I mean, hey,
That's the
there's
other. That's the other thing that I noticed. Like on Kaleidoscape, the movies always come out like way sooner than you could get them on physical media. So
Yep.
I've noticed
There's
that.
over 500 titles that are in 4K that aren't available in 4K on physical media.
Yeah, I
So,
think
you know, that,
it's a great tool device. It For me, it's just not in my top 5 upgrades. If I were to
hey,
list the
and
things that
that's
I want
totally
to upgrade,
understandable.
It,
it's
it,
it's
it,
one of those
I,
things that will come down the line. But
it,
yeah,
in summary, where I would put it is Kaleidoscape is the most convenient experience that you can afford. If
Yeah,
you can't
no,
afford it,
I
well,
agree. It's to
that's a
me,
whole
it is
nother.
all about the convenience of
Yeah.
the particular unit.
Yeah, and again, if he can afford it, yeah.
Right.
What is
And
Jonathan
I
showing
bought
me?
mine used. You know, I bought mine for $3,000, so I got the Strato S. So you know, I paid just as much for that as people paid for the Audiocom version of the Zapiti.
Yeah,
Right?
and I almost bit on the Zapiti uh, bandwagon because I was like, I would just want to experience that, right? Um, but I ended up delaying, and then the Arvolution came out. But in the interim, I got the Zadoo, which what version do you have, Fred?
I have the the UHD 3000.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, like
It
that
has
because it has
it has two
a
16
lot of
terabyte
fancy.
drive bays.
I have like
Yeah,
the bottom of the barrel things, and I know that probably does. I just
but you have a NAS though. See, that's the thing. Like I don't. So having the two drive bays is good,
oh,
right?
see,
But you
that's
have the
but you
storage. You
got
don't
like the
need that.
little fancy window, and I'm like, man, I'm a little jealous of the window. I'm like, the window. I want the little fancy window thing, you know.
It is cool. It is cool to walk over and flip the thing and pull the drives out. That's pretty cool.
I
But
can't
but
afford like the mini blinds and the door to open and the garage to close that Jonathan does. You know,
well, listen.
Jonathan's like, hey,
Jonathan.
yeah,
Not
hey,
yet, man.
like,
Not yet.
close the hangar door. You
I
know,
told you, Paul, the other.
that's
I
why
don't know if I
he
told
has
you, but I was
control
saying
four. So,
I want
close the hangar.
I want automated blinds. On my windows. That's something I want.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the cave. I just want that in the
Well,
house.
okay, to that point, that is where the Kaleidoscape literally, like, you can integrate, and that's the thing. It's like when you're integrating whole home and whole house, that's where something like that makes a difference because it. And me, I argue the other side. I argue the cheap side all the time, and I don't argue the necessarily cheap side. I argue the
affordable side.
Reasonable. Yeah,
yeah,
reasonable, affordable.
but in that scenario, if you already had like Control 4 or Kaleidoscape, and then you got mini blinds, like Jonathan, for instance, we're friends. I'm picking on him. I know I'm picking on him. And he's like, God damn it. Yes. In that case, I would be like, oh, you already have a Control 4. You can get blinds. It will literally integrate with Kaleidoscape to say, close your fucking blinds, bro. And it's like, oh, movie on. Everything just
Yep.
happens automatically. Versus some nerd that's like, oh, hold on, I gotta figure out like what API code do I need to run to get the blinds to close? Like, what's the
Yep.
code for that? And then how do you know when that happens for each movie? Like or what you're watching. Maybe I don't want the
Well,
blinds to
so
close when I'm watching YouTube. When I'm watching Ike's, you know, home theater reviews, I'm like, I don't need my blinds closed for Ike. I want all the lights on when Ike's on my screen. I want like no, I'm feeling a little nervous if Ike's on my screen. I need all the light. I can
Yeah. So
open
to your
all the
point,
light.
Paul, Kaleidoscape, they actually go through and put the movie on the hard drive and make that the chapters aren't the same as the disc, right? So they actually put it on the hard drive on the main server a different way as the just the disk, and that's it. So they also add metadata that will trigger your lights, and it will trigger stuff like you said, like your blinds and your control 4, that when the lights do, when you hit pause on the Kaleidoscape, your lights, if you set it right, the lights will come up, right? So if you hit play, the lights will dim down, right? So
Look,
there are features like that
guys,
when
you guys
when
are
you get
gonna
the
have
different
tools.
levels. You
Fred.
can
You
get
guys are
when
gonna
you
have
hit
Fred
pause.
order the K-scape tonight.
Yeah, I know.
No, I
Let's
will.
kill
Order
this
it.
topic
I
and
will.
move.
I will say this. I will say this, Ike. I'm definitely not in the market for Kaleidoscape.
Yeah, looks
Only
like
because what I have in this job, then I don't think about something better, right? Now, but the thing I will say this, I'm not going to pretend. I do like the idea of the convenience. If the Kaleidoscape unit itself wasn't so much, because I would want the 22 terabyte, because I'm still old school, where I want to make sure that I have a bunch of stuff downloaded just in case they, shut off services. I still have my stuff. So I would want like the 22 terabyte unit or whatever it is they have, but I know that's a lot of money. So but other than the money part, I would definitely. It sounds like a great product. Honestly, it really does. I don't even dispute that. But it's just not something that I would get because, like I said, what I have works. When I go to my Zidu, I know it's nothing like a Kaleidoscape, but I go there and I bring up the screen, and I never with my Blu-ray player was able to bring up and have the tiles and see all my movies, as pictures. So I'm happy, you know what I mean? And I think that's where they say
And
ignorance is
that's all that
bliss.
matters.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, right?
That's all that
I, I,
matters. You know that, hey, that you're happy with your system, you're happy with the
Mhm.
performance. It doesn't matter what anybody says about what you have and what you don't have. Sure, you may post some pictures on Facebook and here and there and everything else. And the biggest thing is, and Andrew Robinson states this, the only person that's got to be happy with your system is you.
That's
And
correct.
I
And,
really like that saying.
and
You know,
segue to that, I
but before
want
you
to
segue, Paul,
see. I want to see more detail of Jonathan's system later.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I want to see a lot more detail. Even though I said Marantz, I meant
Yeah,
Macintosh.
we'll schedule. We'll probably schedule that
And you
for
know
next
what?
week.
Hey, you know
you
what?
said Paul, even though you insulted
Blame
him, Paul.
blame it on Boulevard Brewing. You know, they do a bourbon barrel quad pretty. They do a they do a good bourbon barrel quad. So
you know,
Well,
you
with that
know,
being said, let's go ahead and wrap the show up. We definitely appreciate everybody that stayed in the chat and was active in the chat with us, stayed on watching us live. Uh, Definitely appreciate all the support. If you haven't noticed in the chat, we've put our email address in the chat, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please send an email to us. Ike, what's that email address? I'm
It's
looking in the
Home
chat
Theater
here.
Hub Live. Home
Home
Theater
Theater
Hub
Hub
Live
Live
at Gmail. I just
at
put it.
Gmail.
I just posted it. Yeah.
Yeah, so please, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, we're not looking for intricate systems. We're just looking to show off what you're proud of and what you like to sit down and enjoy your pastime with. So, love to have anybody and everybody on that's interested. So, thank you, everyone. We'll be back on next Thursday at the same time. Please make sure that if you haven't done so, subscribe to Easy HT Tech. Also, please subscribe to Horizon Home Theater. We definitely appreciate all the support. Paul, Fred, Jonathan, thank you guys so much for joining the show. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on. You guys all have an open invitation to where we can just have this Zoom style chat, and eventually, I hope to see more and more of us on here to where it'll just be a free flowing chat, and all of us
Uh,
just, hey, I did this
I
upgrade
hope you
today, and I
guys
did that
get to
upgrade.
the point where you have to like stop people from joining. Like that's what I'm hoping for you guys. I enjoy hanging out with every one of you.
Yeah,
And Jonathan,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I haven't talked to you in so long. I'm like, damn, what happened to him? Did he fall off the face of the earth? I thought he got inundated with work to where he
Yeah.
got buried.
Yeah,
I was like,
him and I talk via Facebook Messenger usually on the regular basis. There was a
that's
time that
cool.
we were talking once or twice a month, but both of us got pretty busy there for a while, and but we did stay in touch, stay good friends throughout both of our busy times. But hey, thanks everyone again. Please join us back here next Thursday. And as mentioned before, if you'd like to be a guest, home theater hub live at gmail.com, where if even if you have just a two channel setup, a three channel setup, doesn't matter, whatever you enjoy spending your time, uh your time watching movies or listening to music. Fred, thank you so much for joining us. Paul, thank you.
Thanks for
Mr.
having
Ike,
me.
always a pleasure,
Yep.
and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Stay on, guys.